Our story is not one of providence, not one of divinity or evolution from the primordial slime. Those stories we leave to humans and their endless thirst for pride. Our kind was not so much born as we were created, wrought through the power of the Moonstone by the human Frasiel. At once granted purpose, granted life, and made whole. Summoned to serve as laborers on what would be his most ambitious achievement. A great machine that would grant us power beyond our wildest dreams. As 5 we began, but many more would follow, scattered to gather resources throughout the vast lands of Ogress. It was a good life, working for that which we were created. But as they say in the Master's tongue, nothing can last forever.
Hi, I'm Val the Robot. 2003, Goblin Commander, Unleash the Horde. This is a game, if you're roughly the same age as me, you probably remember just seeing on shelves, and you probably didn't think much of it. Or if you did play it, maybe you played it for a weekend, and you probably didn't think much of it. But I thought a lot about it. For whatever reason, this game really stuck in my head, and I'm glad it did. Now, superficially, this is a top-down, controller, real-time strategy game. That in and of itself is an interesting sentence. If you're a strategy game enthusiast, there is a whole kind of, branch of people who are interested specifically in controller strategy games. I am one of them. They're very strange, and they all have their own solutions to strategy game problems. They're very fascinating if you're just into very narrow branches of game theory. And in that department, this game's really good. This is one of the best handheld, strategy games I think I've ever played. It's really fun. It's satisfying. It gives you just enough of everything. But that's not even what I want to talk about. It's a fun game to play. That's easy to say. See, what made me want to come back to this game was its art style and its aesthetic. I like a lot about it. It has this very, elemental good design. It's uncomplicated, the choices that they have made. The, character design theory is absolutely dirt simple and done very well. It's a great example of how you don't need to overcomplicate things to have a strong visual identity. But what kept me here, the reason this is a video of this girth, is because going back to record stuff for this game and actually sort of combing through it, I have come to believe that this game is comedic genius. It's very earnest, and it has very ambitious directing choices mixed with super insane ones that make no sense to the naked eye. And if you'll let me, I would like to take you through them. If you were thinking about playing this game, you should, but you're probably not, so this is a good way to experience it. Because I've spent the last, 3 months with this game just, combing over its dialogue and rewatching stuff, and, mostly just trying to find good screenshots and good angles of all the characters so that I could do my illustrations. But it means that I'm very intimately aware of each scene. This game is like a movie I've seen 100 times, and the tape is super worn out in the middle for me trying to rewind the scenes with some of the sexy goblin outfits. And there will be sexy goblin outfits. You're not gonna like them, but they are not interested in your opinion. So, I think the best way to do this is to jump right in on the story, and then we'll tackle the sort of art elements as we go. A lot of the stuff I want to show you is extremely visual, so there's going to be way more gameplay footage than I normally do. So let's just lean into it and have a good time with the format. Real quick bullet points from the opening cinema. 1. We are a race of goblins that were created by a wizard to build a giant machine for some unknown purpose. 2, there are 5 brothers. They are each made out of one of the moonstones of their planet's 5 moons. Don't get hung up on the metaphysics. 3, they each are in charge of supplying something different to the operation. They're kind of like the bosses in Mega Man. And finally, that they're all pretty happy with this arrangement. This to them is a good life that they enjoy. And with that, we begin. So the first thing the game does is introduce us to our protagonists, the Stonecrusher clan, and their leader, Grommel, and also that there will be no more English. I know most people don't know Huttese, but thankfully I can read the subtitles for us. The whole game is this goblin sim-wise, and it's actually quite charming. The first thing you need to know about Grommel is that he has the soul of a middle manager. He runs as tight a ship as his limited authority will allow, and his crew more or less respect him. The game is called Goblin Commander, but he's more like a nagging grandma to the Stonecrushers than anything. You'll see as we go along. So Grommel's standing there, large and in charge, the biggest goblin on the scene, just watching people work the way a middle manager does. And then the camera pulls out to an even middler manager, just another goblin with a whip standing right next to him, so that he can check his clipboard and yell something, and then the guy next to him can yell the exact same thing to the exact same people who are already doing their job. It probably fills out some paperwork requirement for like 1 Whitman per 8.5 stone miners or whatever. Also, I love these 2 guys just with a bag of rocks throwing small rocks at a larger rock, under the watchful eye of 2 redundant supervisors just nodding along like, yep, mining, yep, that's some good mining going on right there. We definitely understand this business. all according to the company handbook. Anyway, me and Grommel need to get this tutorial going on, so he turns on his Moon Prism magic makeup and turns into Moonlight. No explanation will be given. All the brothers can do this. They're made of moonlight, so they can turn into moonlight. It's just a management superpower there. They can literally be everywhere. Alright, so our first introduction to Jesus! So this is basically like a tutorial haunted house. The tutorials just pop up out of nowhere and try to jump scare you with helpful info. But you're not going to play this game, so I'm just going to give you the basics. You got yourself a little mob of goblins right here. In most missions, you can make up to 10 of them at a time. You control your clan basically as a mob, not individually. And your objective at all times is to wreck shit and get money. Exactly what it says on the tin, Goblin Commander. They basically just give you a bunch of sandboxes to wreck in this first mission, so there isn't much to do but learn. And then, jeez, damn tutorials. And remember, we're here to like maintenance and build the great machine, not destroy it. So if you start doing damage to it, he comes in over the loudspeaker to wag his finger at you. Grommel, whatever, it's just overtime anyway. Now that we've mastered the first tenet of goblinhood, which is anything that looks expensive probably has sweet goblin gold inside it. Now we learn the second tenet, regular violence. We find some Stonecrushers under attack by something. Look, every complete game is a miracle, okay? Combat in this game looks really good. It's super chaotic, there's always a lot of little stuff going on, and you can zoom in pretty far. Anyway, we save those assets from being on screen any longer and move along down the hallway. And look here, what a drama queen. We knock over 1 barrel. And Grommel's like, oh, the master's gonna kill us. We wrecked his machine. Like, come on, Grommel. I know you're up for that promotion, but like, I can pick the barrel back up. It's not a big deal. No one is gonna have to work a weekend over this. So our next tutorialization is we learn that Grommel can possess people. Just stuff his crazy moonlight soul in the meat puppet of any goblin under his command. In gameplay mechanics, you can actually run around with them and do their attacks, and they'll lead the little, goblin crew. Works pretty good. It's a lot of fun. In the sort of larger game, it's kind of horrifying that you can grab them and force them to work themselves to death. Which you do kind of a lot in this game. But if it's any consolation, I'm almost certain from the context the game gives us that these little goblins don't die, that they go back into the soul fountain. Which is a whole thing we'll explain later, but I'm pretty sure these are the same dudes that get recycled infinitely and just jump out, kind of party their way through a couple of lives like a video game and then end up back in the fountain. They're certainly not afraid to die. Not once, not ever in the entire game do any of these goblins show a moment's hesitation to die for nothing. Maybe that's just how it is. Maybe when you're an evil wizard, you make your goblins that way on purpose, but I don't know. You'll see the game play out. You can make up your mind for yourself. The point of all this is Grommel can possess people. Anywhere a Stonecrusher is slacking off, Grommel can manually get them back to work. You think he's ever a team player about it? You think he's like, all right, I'll work your shift for tonight, and he just possesses one of them and just minds? I bet he does. I bet Grommel yearns for the simple life. Anyway, case in point, we find an ogre sleeping in a storage room behind some pallets. Grommel just wakes his ass up by possessing him. Or maybe possessing the goblin on top of him? I mean, either way, they were both slacking off, right? I'm not 100% sure the ogre is like a willing participant here. Like, he's definitely always in active protest. If you don't control him manually, he goes to sleep on the spot, anywhere, anytime, even if he'll die. It's the most hardcore passive protest you've ever seen. But it's worth the ethical dilemmas, because the Stone Ogre is amazing. He is arguably the best unit in the game. The goal of the game most of the time is to smash shit, and no one does it like him. An artist of the wrecking ball, a dancer of the chain. He will commit many war crimes before this story is over. You could argue that, like, the main tech of this game is knowing when to control the ogre and when to control your crew. Because your regular goblins will defend themselves and fight like they have rudimentary AI. Like I said, the ogre goes to sleep on the spot. He is not playing if you are not playing as him. But, like, that's how integral to the game this guy is. So Grommel sees that the ogre is injured, and he's a team player, so he possesses his body and begins to force feed him. This heals the ogre. But, like, you have to do it to proceed, so it kind of makes it like this weird, like, no, everybody wait, and just, it's kind of like a weight block puzzle, except you have to put weight on the ogre, and then Grommel will arbitrarily declare that you've done it. So there's no pressure applied, he's just watching, and he's like, yeah, that looks fat enough. Or not even fat, healthy is the word. He was injured. So, like, Grommel as his manager is definitely the person most qualified to decide that he's good to go back to doing dangerous manual labor. But what the hell else are you gonna... Damn it, every time. So Grommel, and by proxy us, get to enjoy just absolutely wrecking this room full of garbage. It's just so satisfying to watch this stuff explode into sweet, sweet goblin gold. Very Ratchet and Clank, if you know what I mean. And that thing in particular, and we're good here. But the day is not over. No, it's not time to clock out. Behind this rickety gate made of plywood from the shed, a chicken foot, I think. It's a boss fight so inconsequential that Grommel complains about the machine the entire time. Like you had plans. Once Grommel's done complaining, he gives us a like, yeah, good job with the blade worm, you did fine, yeah. Kind of clapping his hands with his clipboard still in his hand. Everybody just kind of like taking off their hats and wandering home for the night. They don't know it, but tomorrow is going to be a hell of a work day. Now that their work-mandated rest period is over, Grommel's here to kick everybody awake in the morning. Also, look at this cool shot of the machine. Yeah, it's peak 2003 right there. And you know it's all destroyable. That adds something. Anyway, another day, another Grommel disrespect. The boys won't get out of bed, so Grommel has to actually come in their house and get them. So you go inside and somebody slams a help menu in your face. As you can see, there's some empty slots here, but these will fill out as we go. And then down on the bottom here are upgrades you can use to make your units more powerful and more hideous. The upgrades are extremely readable and clear to see. They are functional. You are never mistaken on what upgrades people have and don't have, but they're ugly as sin. There's a price to be paid for everything. Look at this wonderful half-fantasy nightmare dystopian sentence. Come on, time is resources! Now that we've slept half the day away, we need to scour the area for gold and souls. It's some kind of corporate demon speak, but I love that the game just embraces it. So the source of the gold is going to be rocks lying around, and the source of the souls is going to be a new mechanic. The Soul Fountain. Soul fountains are very straightforward. You put your guys near them and you capture them. It sort of marks them on the map and they just generate a little bit of souls over time. They are technically infinite, but they do get slower as they go. I don't really know where it bottoms out, but there's usually way more than you need. It's just to give you an objective to fight over. So those are your only two resources. You spend money on upgrades and you spend souls on goblins. You also get a little bit of souls from killing stuff too, which is interesting because it kind of means like the defeated end up in the same soul pile as the victors. So you're just going to get reborn into goblins if you die to them. It's not a bad proposition, honestly. And duck. Okay, have a look at this. This help file has lore at the bottom of it. This is a sneaky thing that the game only does one other time. I'm only finding this on like my third pass through this footage. That's how easy they are to miss. Anyway, so this help menu just casually introduces a precursor race into the lore and then drops out. This information won't matter. It's just a weird place for it is all. What was going on over here? Right, we were getting attacked by 3 chicken feet. Well, we weren't, but we are now. And as a reward for our sweat and chicken scratches, we get a stone ogre. We are back, and we immediately get a big pile of stuff to wreck. It really is like a little bonus level. You know that like low stress, old school Donkey Kong Country type of bonus level? Ah, that's the good stuff. While we're in here doing construction site ASMR, the guys in the next room are actually getting murdered by the bad asset monsters. But now that Grommel's here, he can solve it the Stonecrusher way. He's gonna go home, get out his good fountain pen, and write out 3 separate requests for Stonecrusher turret requisitions by hand. And fill out the necessary secondary forms to have them delivered expediently. And it actually teaches us in a cool way that you can put turrets anywhere on the map in this game. And also that turrets exist, so that's cool. You buy them at the big clan house next to the ogre. And here's a nice detail. Look, this turret blew up this piece of terrain in the crossfire and goblin gold spilled out of it. That environmental damage is just one of the many layers of spectacle this game has whenever there's a fight. Yeah, not leaving that behind. To Grommel's credit, he does say great job to everybody, even though this one time he actually did do everything. So alright, fair enough. Well, he didn't gather the gold, but you know, at least he spent it right. Because you never know when tragedy's gonna strike. Ooh, oof. Yeah, you think Fraziel's gonna be pissed about this one? Also, look how Grommel... He looks real distraught about the whole situation, doesn't he? Also, big reveal. These infernal caverns, what's this? Like, maybe it's just the heat of the moment, but like, the insult is on the caverns themselves. This is your home. Didn't you build all this? Here's a little layer to Grommel. Mwah, right there. So suddenly the mission shifts gears and we gotta run around saving different stone crushers. Again, Grommel, you know, good in a crisis. He, good head on his shoulders. He gets everybody out of here. To his credit, he uses his floaty moonlight spirit to spot people that the guys on the ground wouldn't be able to see, so he can direct them over to save them. Like, you know, all right. This guy read the handbook. Now, I know I haven't really gotten into details about the units themselves yet, but I do want to talk about this guy. This little shit right here. This is my favorite unit in the game. He's one of my favorite strategy game units of all time. He's a little drummer. Look at him banging away. Boom, 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 boom. Help me! Boom, 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 boom. Save me! Anyway, he's great. He drops a sick beat at all times, which keeps your guys in a constant chill pulse of healing. Some of you may be sort of noticing a pattern with the Stonecrusher, like visuals with their designs, but we'll get around to that. The extra get up and go generated by his hot drumming is enough to get us out of here. Just before the mine collapses, wouldn't you know it? I guess as long as it's all broken, we may as well. Hey, what's up with this guy? Hey, dude, you all right, guy? Hey, the mine's collapsing, man. We gotta get the hell out of here. I don't really know what's wrong with him. He's just like this. He's just staring in the infinite caverns that he spent his whole unlife building. Just fire and hell raining down on the entire work of his life, and he's like, farewell, my brothers. I'll see you in the soul fountain.
Nauseated. Untet und Fahrer.
Hey man, what's going on? Is that the master? Shut up, man. Hey, it's serious. No, like what I missed though, Is everyone okay? Yeah, no, he's celebrating. The machine worked. He turned Fraziel into a god. Oh, sick.
Yeah, go Grommel!
Oh, I can't believe it. Oh, I can't believe you actually did it. You so crazy son of a... Holy crap, was that guy cheering? Did they do this on purpose? Yeah, man, I think they might have killed Fraziel. That guy was definitely celebrating. I don't know, man. I got a weird feeling. Let's get the hell out of here. Yay! Woohoo! Let's talk about the art in this game for a minute. And I'm so glad. It sucks that I had to wait this long. Let's get in here. So you may have already been picking up on this game's like sexy old man aesthetic, because if you want to make like an off-the-shelf goblin, like if you're just trying to get from nothing to goblin in as fast a way as possible, the way to do it is to draw super exaggerated old people features and put them on a gangly little body. That's my recipe for instant goblin. So because they did that, all of the goblins look like dumpy old men. So on top of that, they've dressed them all like strippers. I don't know why they've done this. I don't care why they've done this, because put it all together and you just have these like Humpty Dumpty workaday old men with leathery faces and wrinkled skin in just like mankinis and super revealing loincloths. These like curtains that waft about in the breeze as if to tempt your eye. It's just a beautiful cherry on top to everything else that's going on all the time in this game. Everybody's ridiculous. All of the commanders act like clowns. The dialogue is wonderfully hammy. And they're all dressed like skanks for some reason. This is like a list of features you put together with your friends on like a joke game that of course will never be made. But they made it. They made it completely earnestly. I couldn't appreciate it in its time, but I can now. Something small I want to talk about. We're introduced to this idea with the Stonecrushers, but it's going to be prevalent through most of this game. This game does not have like a lot of traditional fantasy weapons. There's no swords. There is nary an axe to be seen. The Stonecrushers go to war with thrown rocks, hammers, whips, these hands, and a drum and a good management and a 3,000-pound stone ogre. But the narrative we're given throughout the game is that the Stonecrushers generally are successful because they're well managed, like because Grommel's a good leader. While this doesn't really line up with any of their individual pieces of equipment, I guess hammer and hammer, right? But the broader idea that they have a bunch of sort of ragtag, I don't know if you can call a whip mining equipment, but non-traditional weapons of warfare, maybe we'll say. This is actually one of the more subtle elements in the game, which is why I wanted to kind of introduce it early. He has good ideas and good plans, and he executes them well. Well, I execute them well, you know, it's a video game, but it is his defining feature, and that's a really cool thing for a defining feature of a main character. Like, I know it's a strategy game, so it makes sense that the main character is good at strategy, but if you're gonna make a game where everybody is a goblin, you're not initially thinking that this will be decided by who has the best, like, HR department and retirement plans. Within the context of this game, where all of the brothers are actually just sort of captains of industry, it makes perfect sense that it's decided that way. But that's just not the game that the term Goblin Commander Unleash the Horde really sells you. But that is actually factually what this game is about. Above the hoarding and the goblining and the fighting big mobs of dudes, this is an action movie about CEOs somehow. I'm not trying to make a statement about it. That just is what's happening here. I'm spending a lot of time on it because it just is extremely funny to me that each of these goblin commanders, like the actual reality of them, is so mundane and uncool, which is completely appropriate. They do the jobs the wizard needed them to do. A wizard doesn't need to make a bunch of hero goblins. He needs a bunch of them to like sort his books and pick up his dry cleaning and dig holes. What happens when the world's most practical wizard dies in a tragic accident and all of the hapless buffoons he uses to do all the manual labor he's too lazy to do goes to war? Well, of course, by that logic, the hard-workingest, company-lovingest, payingest, taxes-on-timest Goblin Commander is going to be our hero. He's gonna unleash workplace efficiency and a gang of sexy grandpas on this world. I played Goblin Commander for the plot, taking screenshots of an old man in a sling bikini and riding boots and a whip. You put this all together and the thing that you get is so crazy and so unhinged and so bizarrely unimportant. I never hear people talk about this game. Like, it's not a complete unknown. You can find videos about it. I didn't discover this game, but I just felt like there's a lot to talk about that was still on the table. I hope you agree with me. And we are not done. With our master dead and probably not buried, honestly, they probably just left him in a ditch. There ain't a whole lot of reverence for the dead going on in Goblin Town. So just right out the gate here, the camera pulls in on Grommel, a lugger, and a stone thrower, like seemingly standing there having a conversation. Since we are Grommel, we don't hear what the stone thrower says, but he says something to this lugger, and then the lugger says, Grommel, the stone thrower's here, and he has something to report. The Grommel's like, ah, good, proceed, stone thrower. Say what you want about the Stonecrushers. They keep the chain of command neat and tidy. Actually, he doesn't say proceed. He says, it's about time. As if he wasn't standing there waiting for that transaction. So he reports to you that the Helfire crew is chopping down this forest, and Grommel's like, they must be doing that for a good reason. Based on the rest of this chapter, I have literally no idea why Grommel would say or think that at all. Now, our goal here is to contact the Helfire clan. Now, my reading on this is always him saying, like, Grax must know what has happened to Fraziel. Not like, Grax must know what happened to Fraziel. Like, it's not, he's not going to ask Grax about it, obviously, because Grommel was there. This is just the goblin equivalent of showing up hat in hand at his doorstep to, like, let them know their dad's dead. Remember, there's no animosity between these groups as far as we know. Like, they're the red goblins and we're the gray goblins. But otherwise, like, we're pals. Like, we all work for the same company, just different departments. Grommel knows what's coming. Okay, so real quick. The Helfire goblins are like, they are particularly like goblin-y. Like they clearly understand complex metallurgy, but they can't speak straight, you know? They're like that particular kind of like idiot savant goblin. So Grommel and the boys engage in some public vandalism to get Grax's attention. Seems like a super weird way of going about it, but whatever. And it totally works. Grax was playing it quiet, like literally the second he was even lightly inconvenienced, he came down to yell. To straight up accuse us of murder, like no beating around the bush, he is convinced. Whoever those two scouts were on that hill, he took their word at absolute face value. Or maybe he just doesn't like Grommel, so it was like a very easy pill to swallow. Anyway, Grommel straight up lies, and he's like, hey, we come seeking answers, not blood. But like, we did show up and immediately vandalize that thing. We actually just started destroying their crap before we found them. And remember, this is basically two departments of the same business. We're a bunch of miners from the mine next door, and we're raiding a lumber yard. Just like a normal industrial lumber yard. My boys just rolled in and started destroying it instantly. And then when they came to attack us, we killed them, took over the lumberyard, planted our flag in it, and then we're like, hey man, we're just trying to be cool. You should talk to us. But then Grax just gives the game away and he's like, but we seek blood, evil Stonecrusher. Like, man, he could have played on the he could have held that a little closer to his chest. That's all I'm saying. I know it's good to be honest, but like being brutally honest isn't always like a quality you want in your warlord. If he screws up too many times, you know, y'all die. And then Grommel's like, oh, that's it. He said it. Now we got to attack. Now we have to destroy their civilization. Was that the only option, Grommel? Couldn't you have gone another direction? Maybe not. Maybe that's just maybe as goblins, these literally were the only two options. Like, you showed up and is like, friend? No. Well, violence. So Grax forgot to house wall, so we just start wrecking his wood line over here. And we're just tearing down lumber yards, just destroying the wood with rocks for some reason. And 0 workers escaped, which I think is Goblin OSHA. Get out of here, you stupid wood nerds. This is stone turf. We throw granite, flint, hematite in this house. Nice ashwood. Oh, look, this guy's got some yew. 7 years, he's gonna make a longbow. Crush his head in with a rock. We also pick up runestones here, which are like spells you can that Grommel can cast from space. You can hold 2 of them. You just sort of drop them with one of the triggers. It's just another way that you can kind of manage fights without, micromanaging the units. Resource you can spend. You can usually buy more of them if you want to spend gold on like a temporary effect like that. Like this game has some legit RTS mechanics, It's not just bashing goblins against each other. I love the mix of like high fantasy dialogue and like workplace casual conversation. I look, Grommel's in here and he's like, "Destroy the lumber camp, crush it to splinters." For some reason, like these people did anything to him really, and his guy's like, "You got it, boss." like he's not being funny. He's just like, "Yep, that's the work. Soft dirt, ancient ruins, houses of the peasants. You tell me to mine it, I mine it, sir. Sir, we've been mining the civilian housing. Turns out it's got tons of money in it." Anyways, we drop an ogre and he just performs like damn no memore on them. Nothing is left. This is the life of an economic unit in a strategy game. Voice of reason. I guess relative to this guy. Really doesn't feel that way right now, though. Alright, so everybody just seems to be hanging out on a low energy day here. And we pull in to the pit boss talking to Grommel, but the camera goes real low to like really emphasize how far away they are from each other for some reason. And it makes it seem like he walked most of the way up to him and he was just like, "Hey Grommel, I got a report from my underling's underling that there's a Helfire factory nearby." But we do get a nice kind of like cinematic shot of the Helfire factory, which is nice. Anyway, this is all a setup to get us to a exploding barrel joke, which explains Chekhov's long shot back here. But what this game has that other barrel jokes doesn't is the awkwardness of Grommel. He's like, "No, wait!" That shit's behind him. That was years ago. What are you talking about? What do you mean with the explosion yards? He goes right into first lumber yards, now black powder. That like he goes into like a Sherlock Holmes monologue 1 second after those 2 guys explode into viscera 2 feet from him while he was talking to them. He pulls out his pipe and first lumber yards, now black powder. That lunatic Grax is cooking up something. But what? And honestly, it's a bit of a trick question. You probably haven't played this game. If you haven't, guess. Take a guess what Grax is cooking up. Go for it. Just take a swing. I never get to play this game in any of my videos. I'm psyched to get to do it here because it's very unlikely that you'll get it unless I've spoiled it in the chapters somehow. Don't look! Anyway, new area, new civilian work yards, and Papa Stonecrusher got bills to pay. Those hideous fire hammers don't pay for themselves, unfortunately. So this level has these barrels strewn about that we learned about in the exploding barrel joke, the hilarious exploding barrel joke. That was so funny. And when you blow them up, they open little passageways through the forest here, which is a neat little mechanic. You have to do it kind of carefully because you only have one ranged unit, and it's the guy that throws rocks, but you can do it. You can actually get down and manually control them, and it's not that hard. And there seem to be some peasants living over the hill here, so we get right to work. Do you think you get to choose what type of goblin you are when you go back to that great soul fountain in the sky after you die? You get souls when you kill any other goblin, so like presumably these, the spirits are switching sides left and right, which when you put it in that light, it actually makes it sound like a pretty fun thing to be. Like, what does it matter? You're dead. Oh, you wake up. Oh, cool. I'm one of the purple guys this time. Or, oh, awesome. You run out, get murdered by, some monster. Oh, yeah, I'm one of the red guys. I'm doing a non-combat. I'm a peasant this time. We'll see how that goes. And then I come through and raid through his village and burn it down. He's like, that's how it goes. Maybe I'll be a Stonecrusher this time. It seems like they're having a run right now. A small thing, if you're playing through this game for the first time, just a little tip for you. That tutorial about the exploding barrels wasn't so much to teach you about exploding barrels, because you could figure that out on site. Even when you were a kid, you probably could have figured that out. It's to teach you that your guys don't know what exploding barrels look like, and they have no interest in learning. And when they're just on the attack formation, they'll just destroy them and get themselves killed left, right, and center. So be really careful around this area. This is almost like to teach you to go in and use them manually from time to time. That's just a little bit of advice from Val's childhood to your loving ears. Anyway, you know the deal. Burn them down, take their fountain. Don't let the gates hit you in the ass on the way out. Little tip for you RTS fans looking to play this game competitively. You can turret drop anywhere you have vision in this game, which is actually really sick and cool. I know I mentioned it earlier, but it's an interesting dynamic. Turrets are very expensive, but they're pretty powerful. I don't know, it's just an interesting little mechanic that this game has. Anyway, we take our ill-gotten gains, drop an ogre drops the hammer drops the barrel drops the trees, Grax drops his pants. We can go right up the backside of the mountain now with our full army. And you know how it goes by now. Once the ogre's up the hill, we're done and dusted. And there's exploding barrels to boot. Just as you start to think, well, okay, alright, I guess there's a little more base over here. It looks like we're in cleanup mode. We see, we hear, we feel the terror. Remember what we learned. They have a big factory up here producing black shiny powder. They have a facility built to construct this weapon, a weapon to surpass Metal Gear. Behold, it's a pig. They built a pig with a catapult on its back. A pigapult, I'm sorry. They built a pigapult with black powder and forging. I guess you need wood for the catapult part. Did you guess it was a pig with a catapult on its back? Maybe you did, I guess, but it seems pretty unlikely. Anyway, I'm putting the cart before the horse here because we get to have our first kaiju battle, and it is nominal. It is all right. It teaches you a good lesson about this game if you do play with your friends. At least in my experience, this is always true. Nothing beats the Stone Ogre. Back the hell up. When you see this unit coming at you, doesn't matter if you're a pig or one of the other ones I don't want to spoil right now, even if it would make this joke funnier with better punctuation. No matter which one of these phantom enemies you are, this ogre will knock you down. I'm going to tell you a secret, actually. I'm pretty sure I could get away with this, but I like to be honest between the two of us, you and me. The ogre that I came up this hill with, I actually got him killed against that pig. But 1v1, I stand by that it's basically always true. I made some flubs, there were tactical errors, but the ogre, he is better in a straight up fight. I do mean that. Alright, now you ready for a switcheroo? So, we had that speech in the beginning when he was like, oh, the black powder, oh, the stuff, what are they doing up there? And then we find out it's a pig, but then like, no, actually the pig was unrelated. There's like a foundry behind it. Grommel's like, oh, for heavy cannons. It's like, wait, what? Was that always your guess? Or why didn't you just say heavy cannons in the beginning then? Why did you set us up like there was going to be something gunpowder related up this hill when there was in fact a pigapult? Only to then later be like, oh, actually, it's for heavy cannons. I knew that already. I know about heavy cannons, whatever. By the way, he's wrong as well. There are no heavy cannons. There are none in this game. I guess he could be referring to the Helfire mortar guys who will show up later, but those guys' mortars are made of wood somehow. So even that doesn't click. No, he just wanted to sound right. Anyway, can't stop the rock. The ogre rolls through the rest of the camp, and we're basically done here. But regardless, I guess if you guessed heavy cannon, you are also correct. Like a pigapult and heavy cannon were the two correct answers, at least as far as we get to know. Although we are not done revealing the many-layered lotus of Grax's genius yet. There is yet more planet-cracking power to come from the mind so devious it invented the pigapult. So the next mission is an RTS classic. We drop in with a bunch of units and we have to get to our town that's being destroyed. And why can't Grommel just go over there? Well, because he has to bring an ogre. And ogres will fall asleep if you don't control them manually. They're very, I don't want to say lazy, because they don't have, they They don't want to be here. I guess as far as we know, they're made out of 140 souls. They're pure soul. So maybe they are just all goblin. Who knows? Anyway, our job is to lug his lazy ass up the hill and break the siege. We find some other Stonecrushers under attack, join them into our little mix-match party, and then we get wrecking. So you show up and you break the siege with your mighty presence. They see that bolt coming, and they're like, that's it, we're safe now. And these three guys are they're just feeling it, and they just immediately engage in a 3-man crusade across Helfire territory. I'm guessing just now that they know that it's secure, they can just go in and wash and become another goblin, or just get to a different part of the battlefield. I don't know, like, their work here is done. They did it. They're like, all right, you guys get to hold the point now. We get to go get some action. So we mount up, set up, get out, get squashed. We cannot take this hill. They got a laser up there, and somewhere in the darkness, that nefarious technology, that dark machine from the Soul Forges, the Pigapult. It's a stiff line, is my point. So, we do what goblins do best. When we're backed into a corner, we just get out there, put on our working hats, lace up our boots, and just raise the landscape. Just burn it to the absolute ground. We foraged every house, pipe, tree, ancient ruin, and anyone hiding under beds. Also, in the middle of this, we get the, I think, first and only, "For Grommel!" from this random Stonecrusher. Presumably he's just kissing ass, but Grommel seems like the type of guy who'd would respond well to that. Look, if you wanna go from rock thrower to pit boss, you gotta just lick a little boot, or just get your ass roasted by a Hellfire death ray and just take another spin of the wheel. Anyway, we spend all our sweet goblin gold on big, gaudy, shiny, horrible armor and weapons, and we find a back way into the base during our looting. So that's like a 2-for-1 right there. Anyway, with their crops burned and their people sent to flee to the hills, this city has really no chance. We're able to push in and basically destroy everything. It's so trivial, in fact, the level unceremoniously ends with no dialogue while I'm walking through the forest with my ogre. So we get into the next level, and Grommel's in here delivering this, like, pre-battle speech, We're about to climb this final hill and, like, confront his brother. And then he finishes his speech dramatically, turns into moonlight, and we see that he was talking to no one. He was just standing outside awkwardly, just kind of giving a speech, as if it's his way of waking everybody up for their day's work. I'm just gonna give this game a freebie because it absolutely deserves it. I'm just gonna say Grommel was practicing his speech. He knew he was gonna have to go up that hill, and he's just like, I cannot screw this up. I cannot screw this up. It's like my first real conquest. I'm gonna beat my brother, and everyone will know I didn't kill our dad. I'm gonna get the speech right, and I'm gonna look so cool in front of the other goblins. And then the wizard's gonna be so mad that he didn't make me assistant manager instead of Naxus. He just likes Naxus because he's funny. I can be funny. Anyway, we hit the pavement and crack every brick, break every house, and destroy every ruin in search of sweet goblin gold. We even find a nice juicy little town upriver. Back to the fountain, boys. Be Stonecrushers next time. Now it's all going well and smooth until we come up to the final hill, the final passage to the final hill, if you will. Drax unleashes his most cruel and degenerate of inventions yet, the pigless Pigapult. The boys say this lifeless machine is half possessed by the mad spirit of the pig who once was its other half. They say his driver became bestial, the engineers that made the blueprints, foul, pork-eating lumberjacks, infatuated by the supple mystique and broad timbers of the Apult, yet repelled by the homely features and skinny shanks of the pig. Our boys dared not even approach it from the front, so foul was its visage cutting across the evening sky, a monument to the hubris of science. Thankfully, while fleeing through the woods, sickened and feverish, a group of my boys tried to take the fast lane back to the Soul Fountain, and they accidentally opened up a secret passageway up the side of the hill. We steeled our hearts and took the hill. Once the lines had broken, the driver's mind finally snapped, and he wheels his damned steed about in the direction of the forges, in the direction of his creators. When they're dead to the last, the beast is sated. His driver gone dormant. He and the machine are one now. They'll rest together, hopefully at peace, protecting this cursed place for anyone else who would uncover this wretched, infernal machine. Anyway, Grax is none too pleased about this whole affair, but what's he gonna do about it? We're already on his lawn. We may not have the haunted catapult anymore, but we still have the ogre. When it's all said and done, we see Grommel dropping in on a pit boss who I think actually just happened to be standing there, or maybe Grommel asked him to like watch the building. He says he's gonna go inside. If I don't come out in an hour, take the whole building down, which I appreciate. That is good plan by Grommel. I respect it. But then in like true awkward Grommel fashion, like he gets this communique across and is like, "You got it, boss." And then he doesn't like immediately go anywhere. They just kind of stand there as if he's waiting for for Grommel to say something, or maybe Grommel thinks the conversation's not over, and we just awkwardly pull away and fade out. Looking back on it, you know what I think? I think Grommel still wanted to give that speech, and he was just like hoping that conversation would give way to an opportunity for him to give that speech still.
Tera set unte.
Se chaka misalo.
Setama.
Bese take ni soma.
Untet unfara.
Tesoka fasir. Takate jomi samata. Simose kotaka.
Netale.
So we go in and confront Grax. It's actually a really nicely directed cinema, but we learn two things. One, kind of obviously, Grax thinks Grommel did it. Grommel, in fairness, answers the way like an evil cartoon villain would answer. He's like, "Oh, treacherous, me?" Except in, Huttese, so he's like, unfara. Based on this cinema, I think that Grax cannot turn into Moonlight. We actually did not physically see him until we got to this hill where he was standing in front of the evil pigless pigapult. Then he went inside this building, and then we're like, "Grax, where are you?" And he's like, "Everywhere, nowhere." Sorry, but in Huttese, nowhere. Just like you. Just like you. Is what Grommel does. He's all over the map because he turns into Moonlight. But can Grax not do that? Because he blows himself up in an attempt to kill you. And Grommel, gets away with plenty of time. He has time to look around and appreciate that the building's coming down and still turn into Moonlight and totally survive. So I don't know if Grax can turn into Moonlight. Maybe he did just want to blow up, but I don't know. It's an interesting question. But either way, he is sure as shooting. He is dead. He is gonzo. This game comes from a very mixed era for quality. For anybody who wasn't actively gaming or actively on consoles at the time, mostly people know these stories, but just in case, the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 2 were inundated with third-party titles. The library of both of those systems is like the Library of Congress. There's so many games, which is why this era has so many gems. When people say, "Hey, you've never heard of this cool, PS2 game. Have you ever played God Hand?" There's just all these weird games that slip through the cracks because there were so many developers. The actual reality of that at the time meant every game was a gamble. Any game that didn't come from a company or have a reputation from one of your friends, it just might be a terrible game, especially if it's very affordable, suspiciously affordable. I can remember the feeling of playing this game for the first time and seeing just caverns and the big machine and being very unimpressed by it. It was cool. The novelty of controlling and running around and stuff was neat, but just drab caves and lava monsters and just bleh. So you can imagine my surprise then to come out into this bright green, beautiful forest to run around and fight the Helfire clan in. This is the springtime of this game. This is when everything is going. Like, the colors are there, you're fighting against like a more substantive enemy, the mechanics are all in place, you're actually kind of fighting little battles, it's slowly starting to take the leash off you, and this chapter is just so much more fun by having the tutorial be kind of, let's say, slow, a little stodgy. It is important, it's a good tutorial, it tells us who all our main characters are, it gives us time to get to know the Stonecrushers before we have to go out and fight somebody. Narratively, it all works, and it doesn't even take that long. I just wanted to point it out because I found it, even playing the game again, I found it really effective. So in the tutorial, I'm having fun, kind of remembering what the game looks like and seeing all the sort of dark colors. And then, bam, we're out into the big, beautiful world. Fraziel's dead. It's green and brown and nice, natural, foresty colors and beautifully contrasted against my slate gray Stonecrushers, so super readable. The game just starts taking the leash off and letting you play a strategy game, and it's a good one. Very effective for whatever reason. Very clear imagery right out the gate as well, that Grommel is having an uphill battle, like very literally he is fighting uphill, and the guys he's fighting against have bows and guns and mortars, so visually you're very outclassed. Not literally, your Stonecrushers just wipe the floor with the Helfire guys. I think the Helfire clan is extremely good and awesome, and I'm going to talk about that a lot as we go. But you get you a baker's dozen of grumpy old coal miners doing a day shift at a strip club, and they will tear down any gun line, and they will do it to a sick beat. But that's just sort of good arrangement. The player is starting to feel strong, you're getting a sense of what your guys are good at, you're seeing, like, in a literal sense what the plot is, but it's still sprinkling new things on you. You're sort of settled in, and you're like, okay, that's their clan, and then bam, here comes the pig, and you're like, oh, cool, they have a kaiju as well. And of course, you're like, well, I bet all the brothers have kaijus. That's neat. So you have your 5 guys and you have your kaiju. Those are the 2 things. That's neat. And then you get to like the stationary catapult and you're like, oh, this is like a mechanic. Like this game has sort of mechanics in it a little bit. It's kind of a mini game. And then the rune stones as well. You're like, okay, there's a little bit more in here. Maybe this game's trying to, you know, give me some more to play with than what meets the eye. But that's a good feeling though. You're still like learning like, oh, we got this going on. Oh, we got this going on too. This is another thing I don't know how to specifically quantify, but it's so important to me that games do it well, and I appreciate that this game does it. I don't want a game to ever be in a hurry to settle me into, giant quotations, core gameplay loop, one of my least favorite phrases in the entire gaming industry. This game wants me to think that I'm always going to be peeling back new layers of this onion, that we're just going to keep having new ideas sprinkled throughout the game, which is what I want. That's exactly what I want. I don't want all of the game's mechanics laid out before me. I'm not super good at conclusions, so let's just move on. Alright, meeting with Grax didn't go well. Didn't take the news about Fraziel particularly well. We may have committed some war crimes. But, you know, bigger, brighter horizon. We're gonna go talk to our next brother, Fane. Now, Fane is the head of the Stormbringer clan. I may have gotten ahead of myself when I called the Helfire clan, like, the nerds, because really, like, these guys are all huge dorks, including and especially Grommel's middle management Dilbert ass. But, like, where the Helfire goblins are, like, that kid that didn't wash and, like, his notebook was nothing but anarchy symbols, and then he's just, like, got good grades on tests. Like, that's kind of the Helfire clan. Stormbringer is, like, the kids that actually study, like, every day. They just, like, they go home and do homework and go to bed and come back and go to school. They pull out all their crisp notes with perfect handwriting, and you're like, God damn it, I'm gonna be a janitor in whatever facility that guy runs. When all the brothers sit down for a dinner with Dad, Fane is just dropping W after W after W, you know? It was like, you know, oh yeah, you know, we found a good vein of minerals, you know, machine's been working, no work accidents in like over 6 months. And Fane's like, yeah, I rediscovered an ancient teleporter machine and I can make wind walls and control the weather now, so that's cool. And you're like, yeah, Fane, that's fucking, I'm happy for you, man. Like, that's what it's gotta feel like. And while I love all the fashion in this game, top to bottom, I think the Stormbringers, like, take the cake just for their weird mix of, like, crew cuts and pot-bellied wizards. They are basically a ranged faction, but they're like a fat, mid-ranged faction. They're like low damage, high defense. They're very interesting from like a strategy game standpoint. So we've clearly set up camp here. We just kind of like move into Fane's backyard with our trailer and our clan hall. And he's like, hey man, you're trespassing. You like, I know your mind collapsed, but you can't stay here. But he says it very eloquently because he and all of his goblins speak quite proper. And so does Grommel, now that I think about it. Grommel's boys are very like workaday, like you got it, boss. But Grommel speaks pretty dramatically. I think somewhere there's a heart of a poet in him. Anyway, so yeah, Fane's giving us the cold shoulder, and Grommel's like, no, wait, we're only trying to, and then Fane interrupts him. And I'd love for him to finish that. I want to know what Grommel actually is trying to do, because it's unclear to me what his objective is, other than maybe to instigate by parking in his brother's lawn. But whatever it is, Fane's not having it. He's like, if you come up here, I'm gonna kick your ass. And Grommel's like, well, I basically had no choice. Get out the ogre, boys. Looks like we're destroying another civilization. And they both teleport away instead of settling anything right there with that moment of silence while they're just staring. So they get to go up and play their little silly RTS game with their little soul goblins that, you know, infinitely recycle and just are in it for the love of the sport. Speaking of the love of the sport, good news, great news from here on out. We have control of Helfire clan goblins. So now we've got 2 clans under our control, and we can control them separately. You just have one button for one and one button for the other. You can set one to follow the other, or vice versa, or send them in other directions. That's basically it. Nice and simple, easy to control. So as we start ransacking the mountainside, we find a moon gate and play a big dumb mini game to capture it. We gotta hold these 2 buildings. One is the moon gate, one is an unrelated observatory. We have to capture one, stand on the other, control them both. It's basically a 2 guys puzzle because you have the 2 clans now, so you gotta defend 2 different buildings. Anyway, what's way more interesting is what the moon gate does. It looks like a teleport-a-majigger, and it is. It majiggers some teleports like you wouldn't believe. The way they work in this game, there is a master moon gate, and then there is like subsequent moon gates. I think they're just called moon gates. Anyway, and they match in color. So you capture the white master moon gate, anywhere there is a little white moon gate you can teleport to. If you capture the master, then you can control all of them. So you can only capture them from the master, but you can teleport to them once you have it to any one of them. And I mean teleport. It's not like a portal where you go in one and come out the other, which would already be pretty useful. You just tap it like you're gonna go there, and wherever your boys are anywhere on the map, they teleport to that portal. Like almost instantly. So from this point on, anywhere there are moon gates, you are able to just blast shotgun around the map, and it really changes the pace of play. And the reason I'm talking about it so much is this mission is basically an elevator fight by another name. We have to hold these 2 structures until all 5 of the moons have gone by. Maybe they go by at crazy speed on this tiny ass planet. I'm not here to get hung up on the metaphysics. I'm here to get hung up on this help menu. Look at this chunk of lore. The power of the 5 moons, an ancient race of powerful mages, and specifically gives Fane and the Stormbringers a pat on the back for rediscovering this sick technology. And like, yeah, he deserves it. That's pretty cool. Also, a new piece of the puzzle. The ogre, like all titans, cannot go through a moon gate, so maybe not goblin? Alright, we're back to involuntary volunteer. I'll keep you posted. So we're still reeling from the knowledge that Fane has rediscovered these sick teleporters that are just like change the world. Like his name will be carved into the rocks of history for bringing this technology back to us. And also he invented like a wind wall, just like a magic wall that perpetually just makes like an invisible force field, keeps your enemies out. I mean, you could run around behind it, sure. You know, it's not unstoppable, but it's, you know, you'd buy one, so would I. You know, he did a good job on that. I gotta give it to him. So, well, we burned this entire mountaintop to the ground. And Grommel's weirdly psyched about it. He's like, excellent, you bring honor to our clans. Now, let's get the next base set up. Like, he turns into a Warcraft, you know, intro screen like nothing flat. It's weird because Grommel is so guileless most of the time, but it does kind of feel like he wants this war. Maybe he's just locked in. Maybe the controller's in his hand and it's just, it's pride or punishment now. Alright, now we have another get to your base mission. I have no excuse for why Grommel can't get up there now. I really gave him a freebie with that getting the ogre up the hill last time. Remember before when I was like, why couldn't he just fly there? I got nothing on this one. Anyway, so he sends 2 riflemen and this guy basically to just Rambo their way to your base. And honestly, either they are eager to prove themselves or they just stone cold do not care, but they're like, yeah, no problem, dude, we got it. Grommel's even like, we have a bunch of Stonecrushers, they're right here. Oh, I can send them in, and they're like, nah, don't even worry about it, boss. So we set up on a hill here, and we get this semi-cinematic moment where the game actually grabs the wrong sprite. Interestingly, it says scout, but it shows the rifleman. That just happens sometimes, don't worry about it. The Stormbringers friggin' chud goblins. Look at this guy. Look at this unit. A jaw like an anvil and a haircut like an anvil, and they're both out here like, Master Fane wouldn't like it if we were slack in our duties. That's what the Stormbringers sound like. You can't prove me. You got to play the game to prove me wrong. You just sort of gun those guys down in the street, and having proved yourself to your fellow bloods, you can now come up and join the clan house. That was the only thing you had to do was shoot those 2 guys. They set it up like it was going to be a mission, but they're just like, nah, just wanted to see if you'd murder those dudes. Psych! Welcome to Stonecrusher Corp. Your locker is 105, down at the end there. Then, a new piece of the puzzle. The place we were going to is already wrecked. It's just gone. Maybe that's why Grommel couldn't go up the hill, I hear you say? Then why wouldn't he just say that? He was obviously just pulling a sick prank on these 2 Helfire goblins. And they did a great job, might I add. They have promising careers. So these 3 goblins painstakingly rebuild the entire camp while Grommel sits there tapping his clipboard and checking his watch. So the gimmick of this level is that it's all divided into different cliff sides and you have to teleport around with the moon gates. It's not super complicated, but it really lets you play with the mechanic a lot. Once you expand outward a little bit, Grommel kind of happens upon a goal. He's like, well, we're not winning this because they can teleport, so let's just go attrition mode, grab all the soul pipes, get all the homies flowing into our court, and we seem to be doing a siege. Did Grommel invent sieges, or did he know about sieges? Don't tell me he knows about war, because he's a manager. He runs a mining crew. His guys fight off little spike balls sometimes. I know they're really proving it out here in the wild, but everybody we fight against is also people with just jobs in industry. We're not soldiers out here. Maybe Grommel is the guy for the job. Oh, also in this mission we find the observatory / moonstones. They are far as I can tell, generic buff to your faction when you cast them. They take your runestone slots. They're decent. I can see them being an interesting aspect of the game of maybe juggling one of those in your back pocket. When you're, if you're playing against a person and you had your 3 factions that you're trying to manage, you know which one you're sending forward. So maybe you buy a runestone of that one. You sort of find out if you regret that purchase. Maybe you needed it more back at home when the enemy kind of popped theirs. There's an interesting strategy layer there for sure. So we get in and wreck the place, and incidentally, we capture all of the fountains as well. So it seems like he was actively working against us this mission, because once we capture all the fountains, we close to a close shot on him on the teleporter, basically 1 foot in his hot air balloon to get him out of this sticky situation he's found himself in. And Fane goes into this dramatic, I'll get you next time, villain speech immediately. He starts low and he's like, a curse on you, Grommel. You shall pay for this. And then he yells to his crew. Fate has eluded us. It's a setback. We'll withdraw, but our time will come. He's just trying to power his way out of the scene, trying to get out of this fight with a little bit of dignity. But he says it, and either while he's still talking or while he's waiting for somebody to pull the lever on the teleporter, Grommel just starts basically playing the next mission. He's like, all right, boys, prepare to move. I got a crew in the nearby lands. We got to get over there and defend it, while Fane is still standing there, presumably monologuing. So it makes it seem like he's giving this big dramatic speech, but no one's watching him. Grommel's just 20 feet to the left, going about his business with his clipboard, yep, that over there, this over there, yeah, we'll set up our base on this side, and Fane just slinks away into the shadows. In his own white-collar way, Grommel just destroyed his brother. Whatever hills Grommel sent those guys to build a base in, those are the ones we're in now. And we get another little panoramic fight scene. Nice. I've seen way less dynamic combat out of much more famous RTS games. And you know, it's kind of feast or famine with the directing. This one's actually kind of nice. Grommel's like having this conversation with one of his boys right on the edge of the fight. Now remember, no one has ever told us or even implied that Grommel is a competent fighter, or that that hammer is anything more than like a symbol of authority for him. He is actually better off managing. Like, I was kind of gonna make a joke about him being a coward on the sidelines, but it is actually his gift. He should be on the outside. But what they aren't talking about is why these guys inexplicably built their base right next to a damn moon gate. Oh, am I supposed to believe these goblins have never played an RTS game before? Gotta put a turret inside our own base to protect our base from the portal inside our base. Grommel takes another crack at his pre-battle speech. And he kind of nails it. Everybody sort of had already left, so he's kind of yelling it at their backs as they, you know, begin the rampage, but his heart's in the right place. So we start tearing up the countryside, and suddenly, with no fanfare, just out of the darkness, here comes this thing. What is that? What is that? What is it supposed to be? What is it gonna do? Did you guess turn into a tornado? I don't know. I mean, that's what it does, so if that was your guess, great work. Thankfully, this game has a pretty simple decision tree when it comes to the other kaijus. Get the ogre, use the ogre. This thing is a storm elemental, by the way. They're gonna just start talking about them like you've always known what they are, but there's no introduction. This is a storm elemental. He's really fast, spin, spin, spin. I have no idea how good he is. I have no idea how good any of the kaijus are. I judge them all based on how much fun they are to play. Okay, time to come clean again, all right? Honesty time, part 2. The ogre that I brought up here, I actually got killed to this lightning elemental. It actually killed me. I was reckless. My ogre foo was not on point. I let him get in my head. I wasted my burst early. I let him space me out, and he got me. But pound for pound, the ogre does beat the lightning elemental in a straight up fight. You just gotta take my word for it. Something very charming about this game is that because it's a video game, it kind of functions on goblin logic. Like, you remember those guys throwing rocks at the other rock at the beginning of the game? That doesn't seem so strange now, does it? Maybe it didn't seem strange to you then. I thought it was funny. But now I'm just so used to seeing my guys throw rocks at rocks that when I get, you know, up to this point and I see these archers shooting just volleys of arrows at this giant monolithic huge hunk of stone, like a piece of Stonehenge, and they're just like hammering away at it with pieces of wood, just like wood and with maybe like stone arrowheads, and they're just like, yep, not a bother. Arrow does hurt, you know, rocks are tough, but you know, everybody's got an HP bar. And they're just right, and inside it had goblin gold, exactly as you would expect if you were a goblin. Maybe I'm just getting lost in the fact that obviously the game was made for the characters inside it, but honestly, games don't always feel that way. There is something very special about the feeling that this is a playground for these goblins. I walked up to this wall for the first time and I was like, oh, it's one of the wind walls, like what from the other level. So I have to go around, and I started to go around, and I would have gone around if that lightning elemental hadn't jumped me out of the tall grass. But there's no wind wall there. It just looks enough like the one from the other level that he just duped me. That is low-cost psychological warfare right there. Friggin' madman tricked me with his front door like some kind of haunted house mystery. Up in this house, the killer is definitely my ogre. So we're just thrashing our way through the town, you know, destroying homes and businesses, getting that sweet goblin gold, when we come across a secret buried in the ice. It's an intact pigapult. What does it mean? What does it mean? Was the Helfire clan transporting their technology up the hill so that Fane 2 could build some kind of wizard pigapult? Or was the pigapult found here originally and Fane whispered the honeyed secrets of pigapult into his brother's ear? We may never know. Perhaps the pig knows. And having sent that other nightmare pigless pigapult on its way into the afterlife, you know, Grommel has a newfound, you know, soft spot for pigapults. It doesn't mean the same thing as when we saw that first monstrosity rampage through the gate and stone cold kill our ogre while I bragged about how strong he was. No. That was a beast, a wild animal, an experiment easily disregarded. With all this deep philosophy in mind, we are able to connect with this pig and it will join our cause. We're like very, very, very specialized animal tamers. Because remember, we didn't tame the ogre. His cool ass is still in passive rebellion. Okay, ready? This guy's sweet cartwheel onto screen that clearly dodged an arrow that was never gonna hit him in the first place. And then standing there, just cool as a cucumber. And then it occurs to him, as it occurs to us, he's not standing on anything. He's actually floating in the air somehow. Just sitting there, frozen in time, like, what have I become? Is this it? Was that moment the enlightenment I needed? Have I surpassed this mortal form? Such thoughts aren't for a mere conjurer like him. He simply finds his feet and goes into glorious battle against a stone ogre, the size of which he barely measures up to its ankle. What the fuck, am I having a stroke? This game's so ridiculous, it's giving me dyslexia. An ogre so large that the conjurer barely clears its cankle. How's that? And that cankle becomes extremely relevant as he is stepped on soon thereafter. Did his spirit return to the soul fountain, or did he truly ascend and find a further way? Through sweet cartwheels can we too find enlightenment and unbound ourselves from this mortal coil. Farewell, brave traveler. We destroy the library next door to see if we can learn any more information, but it's just full of goblin gold. We free the Pigapult from its frozen bondage, but it seems to have amnesia. It can't tell us how it got there. Regardless, we're happy to have a new companion with us, because weirdly, we just have 2 titans in this level. And I don't think that ever happens again. If you play, like, with another person, you can only have 1 for sure. And usually in the campaign, you can only have 1, so that's a cool little gimmick. You just get to, just for this level. Oh, and the pig, its infernal power, it's amazing. It has bizarre, like, top. It's like Prism the Dark Unicorn, a game you've definitely played, where one joystick controls the unicorn and the other joystick controls the cantankerous troll. In this case, the unicorn is the pig and the troll is the Pult. Does that make sense? You get it. I think you got it. So you can just run around like a madman doing drive-bys, just machine gunning rocks. You hold the button down to shoot further, but not harder, as far as I know. So you're kind of free to just go absolute ham like machine gunning these boulders at people. And Mofo can throw down an oil slick like Speed Racer. He can throw a fire trap that, you know, is fire. It's what you want it to do, and it doesn't hurt your own guys. 100% OSHA safe. So if you ever get yourself in a bad spot, you can run and just fill the world with fire while you steal away your homely appearance and skinny shanks. Also, beep beep beep, new mechanic alert. Scout Tower. It's like a little capturable sort of outpost. You'd see things like this in a lot of RTS games, but it just gives you like a big area of vision. Like most of the mechanics, these side mechanics, they don't really do much for you in the campaign, but you know, if you were playing with a friend, this would be like a keystone thing to like hold these throughout the map, if you ever played the game enough to like incorporate stuff like that. We get our Goblin Gold and get geared out in the usual way. Turns out none of those libraries knew either. Your reward for all your efforts is a big fight up a hill to a hugely entrenched position, guarding the door up to the final peak. Fights are super fun in this game, so this is a gift. You just get in these big shootouts, everybody's kind of blasting stuff. You cast your runes if you need to or you think it's time, and sometimes you're just zooming in and kind of watching. Since everything is destroyable, you're seeing the terrain get like wrecked up and explode. It's almost impossible to follow individual elements of it. Like you definitely have a feel of what's happening, but it is just a good time to step back and watch it all sort of explode in front of you. And because the fights are kind of low stakes, like you can dump out armies really fast in this game. You almost always have the resources to make many, many times your maximum amount of guys. Your only cost is like the time it takes to move them around, which is why the moon portals are so important. So like losing a fight is like whatever, who cares? Like you're not even that worried about it. You get to enjoy the fight because there isn't a ton to like micromanage in the middle of it unless you have like a Titan in the mix, in which case you're having fun doing that. It's always a good time to get into a big brawl, right? The clouds coming in, the thunder, the gate, this field of conquest. Like he just won a major victory against his supposedly super smart brother, whose strategy was basically just to turtle on Australia and hope things work out for the best. The camera starts high and pulls in dramatically. Boom. Grommel actually drops. a pretty cool line. Like, yeah, all right, I'm feeling it. We see a second Pigapult to flank his right, different than the original one we found in the ice. See, now that we have Helfire guys under control, we have the technology to make Pigapults ourselves. These two have a very complicated story. You know, one the copy, one possibly the original, or does he really have the right to claim that? He's not actually sure. You know, who's looking down on who. But it's super dense, so I'm just going to cut it out. Like, it's just a lot. It would be a whole side tangent. So right on the verge of this triumphant moment, nobody cuts camera, so we pull back to, one, the buttholes of two pigs for some reason, and the reveal that there is no one standing in front of or behind him. So he is, in fact, talking either to the gate or to those two pigs, or he thinks he's talking to someone else. Oh, wait, there should be people there. There they are, all standing off to the right, huddled, having a different conversation, while their leader makes a war speech on top of a lightning-cracked mountain. They're just over there, like, playing dice. You're almost there, Grommel. You just gotta get a good hook in the opening.
As undignified as it might be, I'm afraid that you must let Karak ride upon your back. What? What? What?
What? What?
All right, top of the mountain, Hotshot Fane's stronghold. He's playing it real cool, this thorn in my side business, like we've just inconvenienced him by wrecking our way through his civilization. I appreciate Fane revealing that he actually is a little bit arrogant. He can drop this, I just talk that way because I'm smart attitude, like he actually does think he's great. We already didn't like him, and now when we tell the story, we can say that we were 100% justified from the beginning. Because our excuse just happened to line up with reality. So Grommel starts, posturing while Fane destroys your base with God Lightning, which he will do basically this entire mission. Fane clearly doesn't know how to manage a war the way Grommel has. He's kind of seasoned now. He's getting good at it. But, while we were learning how to do that, he was building a giant storm machine that would allow him to shoot God Lightning down on his enemies. So, it's pretty much a fair fight. That classic yin and yang, white hat, black hat of 500 gorillas versus one machine gun nest. I don't know, it's basically a fair fight. Maybe it isn't, because Grommel brought the drums. These gorillas are playing Donkey Konga, so we can really outlast the damage. And as usual, Grommel just hanging out way too long after he speaks, just sitting there breathing, silently waiting for validation. Don't worry about it, Grommel, they're your friends. They like you just fine. So this level's all about destroying the cool magical crap that Fane built up here. A wind machine, a storm machine, and a lightning tower. So we start taking out his key buildings. He's cursing at us in all chat the whole time. He sends more of his ratchet-ass electric skeletons at us. And we get the job done. You know the deal by now. Smash it and grab it, get them goblin coins. Wrecky. You are playing this level, climbing this hill, destroying stuff, taking out groups of dudes and like Fane's machines, and he's making a big deal out of it the whole time. And you come to the summit of this mountain. It's a pretty hard-won fight. This game's not super hard, but it's always enough to keep you kind of engaged. You do need to be playing the game. And one of the last objectives you're given in this mission is to get control of the lightning tower. You've destroyed all the rest of them, and now you can stand on this thing like a moon gate and get sweet lightning powers. So you're standing up here on the edge of this thing, this wind wall in front of you. There's no way to break it as far as you know. And you see both of your shoulder buttons charge up with lightning, and you're like, oh yeah, smoking guns. And you just start blasting, blowing up buildings, money flying in the air, just trashing the whole place. And like partway through, it's like, oh yeah, there's like things in some of these houses that you have to destroy. And you're like, all right, man, whatever. I was already here. I may as well. You destroy all the houses and the libraries, and you find the little totems and wreck them, and it brings the wind gate down, exactly as you'd expect. And the gate comes down, and the camera pulls in on this just blasted wasteland, this smoking ruin of goblin gold where once a town stood. We somberly remember the pigless Pigapult and thematic connection. It's literally 2 genocides in a row, Grommel. How did you not control yourself? How did I not control myself? This game just gets you so in the groove that you just think like a goblin, and you're like, lightning, wrecky, give me that sweet goblin gold, even though the mission's literally over. Some refugees come out to defend the smoking ruins from our raiding party. It goes poorly for them. It goes even more poorly for them. So Grommel stands there with no opinion whatsoever on this decimated land that once belonged to his brother's people. They're all in the Soul Fountain now. Nothing left to do but go find Fane. So Fane's on top of the mountain trying to clear out all his scrolls before he dies. Blasting lightning like, I told you couldn't park on my lawn! Grommel drops in and he's like, Fane, it's Dad's lawn. I'll park my clan house anywhere I want. Fane like sneak cast hits him with a lightning bolt, which is the coolest thing any of the commanders have done so far. But we do confirm that he is genuine. He actually does think Grommel killed. I mean, like, I guess he can't prove that Grommel killed, you know, Fraziel, but he sure as shit knows you killed Krax. So he has got no reason to think that you didn't do both. But he does, like, seem to not like you already. I think Grax is probably the brother closest to Grommel. Like, Grommel speaks very nicely of him, even though Grax is, like, basically feral. The Grommel and Fane, like, as soon as they locked eyes, we knew it was over. Okay, none of the commanders have done anything even remotely dynamic yet up until this Fane situation. They mostly stand around awkwardly and go through preset gestures. So you're not like, oh, I'm gonna see something cool happen here. You kind of expect, you know, an explosion or maybe Fane to hit himself with lightning or whatever. But he goes in to hit and we see Grommel swing and like, okay, of course, you know, yeah, that was always gonna happen. We weren't gonna see a cool goblin fight and there'd be no reason to show him just sitting there with a corpse, so. But then, yeah, there he is, just sitting with his corpse. He dead, he's right there. The other guy died in a super Disney way. He blew himself up with a barrel. Even your master, when he died in a cave-in to like non-specific injuries. Like, this game has been super gory in a macro sense, like watching the goblins explode, but there's been no like cinematic violence. Like, if you cut the levels out, the story would be rated like G so far. And he gives a little dramatic monologue. I love how seriously this game takes itself. It's never rolling its eyes. It's great. And it's almost an effective scene. Like, you kind of feel for Grommel a little bit, but they still leave him as a smoldering corpse in a pool of this hilarious green blood. Something I love about this game is its really aggressive use of its color palettes. This whole Stormbringer level has this blue, this icy coldness that reminds me of like how Nintendo 64 and like PlayStation 1 games would just absolutely hose an area in one color just to give it like visual distinction. Like, there's 5 parts of this level and it's easier to tell them apart if one is just blue for no reason and one is just like orange for no reason. I found it very charming and interesting and just visually eccentric then, and I still like it a lot now. Why does the lighting have to be right? Just make it weird, have fun with it. As long as the game is readable, and this game obviously is completely readable, you never lose track of what you need to destroy and where your guys are and what level of upgrades they have on any of their stuff. You can see it all at a glance. So why not make the rest of the game crazy blue because you're in the ice area? Just go to town with it. Really try to get that feeling across. There's also almost no white used in this area, which is very cool to me because we're on a snowy mountain. It would have been so easy to just wash this place out in white, and it would still technically be readable. It would be fine, but a little extra effort goes a long way. Now let's hone in on the Stormbringers. I haven't really gotten too in-depth with the descriptions of any of the goblins so far, because the Helfire guys and the Stonecutter guys are kind of cut from the same old man cloth. But the Stormbringers are where things start to diverge a little bit. They have some totally new ideas. First of all, they have facial hair. That's interesting. I guess they can grow beards and mustaches. It doesn't matter. That's not an important fact. I just played this game, I don't know, probably 20 times when I was a kid. It's not a super long game, but I played it a bunch because I liked it a lot. And this game's so full of tiny little visual details that you have to be doing this project. Like, you just wouldn't notice unless you were me doing this. Like, for real out there, if you've played this game, did you know this guy had a beard? Did you know this guy had like long flowing hair coming out of a fez? Did you notice that Fane is wearing a pigskin upside down, kind of? So like the tusks are upward, but like the hooves are dangling around his neck? Did you ever notice the Hellfire guys wear like this like scaled leather armor? Did you notice that the melee guys for the Stormbringers are little earthquake mages? They slam their stick down and it knocks people up, meaning they do in fact have earth, wind, and fire. How about that the mortar guy is decidedly older than the rest of the Hellfire goblins? He's way creasier and more foldy, which implies some kind of veterancy. The game is just awash with little details like this. Sometimes when I'm like narrowing my eyes at these character models, I feel like I'm just trying to read the original artist's like ideas. There's so much they tried to get in here. These guys are really, really ambitiously designed. Oh, here's another good one. Grax has like a liquor bottle holstered like a handgun in case he needs to whip it out like a revolver and take a swig of whiskey to go with his big man chomping cigar. What a weird detail. Why'd they do that? I don't know. I love it. I love it because I feel like it was made by somebody who loved it. Alright, Chapter 3, we're coming in with a very different Grommel. Well, not totally different. He still, moonbeams in like an alley awkwardly between a house and a tree, but he's a much bigger picture guy at this point. So he establishes that we are here on Plaugespitter ground, because we're moving into their territory, and we're doing it aggressively. Grommel makes it clear, we're here on purpose. He is actively growing the clan now. I think what we're meant to believe is that he has made his peace with the fact that people aren't gonna think he's innocent anymore, so he's gotta do what's good for the clan now. The plan seems to be to sort of slowly press in as like conflict neutral a way as possible, kind of taking his lessons from his battles on the mountains with him down here into the swampland. And I think it's a good plan. He knows his brother as I do because I've already played this game, and Sist is kind of an absentee king. Remember, with Grax, we kind of ambushed one of his wood camps, and then we ran into him in the next clearing, and Fane showed up the minute we parked on his lawn. He was outside with his flip-flops and his cigarette to tell us to move along. But just keep an eye on how long it takes for us to bump into Sist. By the way, I hate his name. It sounds terrible on a microphone, so I'm going to call him Sister, as I did in all of my notes. We run into conflict very quickly, but these little cropper patrols they'd be no match even for just the Stonecrushers, let alone our now 3 clans. Hey Fraziel, if Fane is so great, how come his guys work for me now? So this swamp visually is very, very swampy. It's unpleasant. It's all pretty gross, but it is effective. It does take me there. This hideous yellow water in particular. I don't know, the overgrowth, the everything. I like it. The theming is good. This level is about the soul fountains having been taken over by this, like, tree root. Grommel just is like, Plaugespitters did this, I'm sure of it. Plaugespitters should be able to build this in multiplayer. It's awesome. Like, you have to go and destroy a specific tree root to, like, re-unlock it so that you can get it back. And then that's basically what we're doing this level. We're running around tearing those down, so we have to kind of fight our way to wherever the tree root is hidden, destroy it, and then we can capture the fountain. Kind of gets us used to the environment, which is extra hilly, and it kind of gets us used to the Plaugespitters, which are extra not that difficult to kill. Grommel has us fill out some papers to show that we were trained in the use of 3 clans simultaneously and are now qualified to use them on the worksite. Another job well done at Stonecrusher Corp. And that also means our work here is done, and we can take a trip out to the country. The Stormbringers want to show off their sweet lightning elementals, and Grommel always knows a good place to commit an atrocity. So, further to the west, we join Grommel in the middle of a weapons test. With the help of his new Stormbringer allies, he's created an elemental. The basic premise of this level, Grommel's testing his new weapon against the Plaugespitters' old weapon, which is poison. Well, that's not really the full story. We're here to destroy the facility that they manufacture it at and burn the fields that produce the crop. And they're right across the river, so it's either very good luck or Grommel did his job. Alright, now the elemental, let's talk him. He's okay. He's like a pretty mid-tier. Remember, my scale is based on how fun they are to play, and his abilities are turn into a lightning tornado and shoot chain lightning. And on the face of that, like if you told me that, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm into that. And he kind of looks like a weird red skeleton covered in lightning, like sure. I don't have the game terminology to tell you why this guy is unsatisfying for me to use. I can't explain it. There's just something missing. That something is not damage though, because he tears up the terrain pretty good. I don't know, I can't explain it. We burn the crops, we destroy the village. We get a little bit of an info drop. Grommel refers to Sister as Worm, like straight up. I have no idea what made him so angry so fast. Maybe he just knows he's gonna have to fight him and he's just getting the boys in the right mindset already, but maybe they do have some unspecified animosity. Maybe that's the theme of this game, is you go through your brothers starting with the one you liked the most and going around the clock and each one likes you a little bit less. Either way, it's time to go find Sister. But first, we gotta stop for directions. Yeehaw, cowboys, we got ourselves a dungeon level. This is one of my favorite RTS game things, going all the way back to the caves in Warcraft 1. You got a small squad of dudes, you have a limited number, you don't have your bases to spawn people from, you just have to use your little RTS units and manage them throughout the whole level. This one's got pickups and runestones for you to get so that you can use them to kind of buff your way along. You pick up money both for a mission objective and so you can spend it on runestones in case you're kind of falling behind. It's got all the good ideas for a game like this, with one major problem that's going to hit us in the face like a Nerf football later on. So our actual objective with this little crew of people is to find the secret entrance that you need to get to the final little pool of regret where we can find and confront Sister. So we start to stealthily ravage the countryside so we can maybe find this entrance on the sly. Jesus, sneak up on me like that. So this little savage gives us an objective to go and find the wise one, but he's like 3 or 4 takeaway bins of ancient ruins and lush, beautiful jungle away from us, so it's a bit of a hike. But while we're making our way along, stripping the copper wire out of the walls, we come across something curious. A slime. This thing is the Plaugespitter Kaiju, the lamest yet. It is a wet, slithering butthole. It doesn't do any actions, it just bumps into you and does area damage, I suppose as a slime should. I'm sorry, it does do one thing. The slithering butthole farts. That's its special ability. Once it riles over, once it stuffs enough things inside it, it builds up in size and mass until it's big and fat and mighty, and you can release a huge gas cloud with it. So yeah, big butthole make a fart. I guess let me know if this would have been funny to you when you were a kid. You know, we all had juvenile senses of humor. Mine just didn't include fart jokes, I guess. This is like the 12-year-old equivalent of like, this is for someone, but not for me. Anyway, adios slime. No repercussions for me. Our next stop on our trucking across the swamp tour, we find a giant hole in the ground. Just a big, huge, obvious hole that definitely looks like the entrance we're looking for. Can't go in it, but there it is. Anyway, so this is where the mission gets interesting. This old man basically explains that the tribe is pissed that Sister is hiding while they're out here doing all the fighting, and they're down to just basically let Grommel run through and kick his ass. And then Grommel's like, yeah, I don't know, it's pretty suspicious. And then the shaman's like, hey man, 400 or I walk. And Grommel's like, oh, sold! And the shaman's like, all right, you gotta deliver the goods all the way across the map, and also we're still gonna fight you. And Grommel's like, yep, makes sense to me, nothing wrong with that, and turns into moonlight. And then he struts on down the road, knowing that he just sold a lemon to a pigeon for sticker price. We basically have all the money we need, so there's nothing to do but rampage our way over there. I love when we get there, you can see this lugger like running up the hill like, hey boss, I found it! And Grommel just dramatically teleports in front of him and totally steals his thunder. It's a team effort. Grommel definitely should have done that, like it's more gravitas than just having that guy bumble up the hill, but it's hard not to feel like the poor guy wasn't running right into a glass ceiling. Anyway, the sneaky little shit tells us where the big hole in the ground was that we already found. Thanks a lot, asshole, that was the whole deal. So we had to fight everybody, and he didn't give us any new information. And we had to bring the money to him. Anyway, we go to check out the bridge we just bought, and we get a very rare meanwhile. Through some kind of sweet Goblin Commander magic, Sister is talking to this guy directly, and he tells him he did a great job. So the whole point is basically to just like set this up that you're being ambushed so they get the cool back and forth, and he's like, haha, you did well. And then cut to the ambush, and then, oh no, kinsmen fall back! And then, do you see the problem? Do you see what went wrong here? You're just dumped unceremoniously back onto the map. And up till this point in the mission, I really wasn't paying attention to my soul count because I didn't think it would matter at all. I was like, okay, I have so many reinforcements, I don't know how many, but we'll just, you know, play real conservative and play safe and see how it goes. But just sitting here like wondering what just happened, or like, are my goblins gonna come back out? Was there a bug? Am I just sitting here? Oh, they all got respawned, okay. I guess they all died in the ambush, so like, there was no way to do it on one squad. So and then I realized just then, the soul counter, it had been, whenever you lose a squad, it just replaces them with some of the souls out of your thing. You don't have a soul fountain, so it is still finite, but you get souls for killing enemies. But way more importantly than that, you start with like 700, maybe more. I don't know how much it costs to like reinforce one of the squads, but it's insignificant enough that by this point, I still have 600 in the bank, and losing them has been like done trivial damage. When I look at the squads I've lost, probably 4 or 5 of them, it's only taken me to 600. I can lose like, I don't know, probably 5 more? Maybe that number's not even right, but it's the feeling that's important, that like, oh, those guys actually kind of didn't matter. Now, well done to them that I didn't notice till the mission was like really towards its end. That is something, but it really takes away what is supposed to be a boss fight right here. I should be having a cool fight with those slimes with all of the characters that I was able to get through the mission up to the end, fighting this really difficult triple slime situation with all 3 of my clans, having to like play crafty and move around the map and like use my runes, and like, there's just a great opportunity for a tactical challenge. But instead of that, you just use human wave tactics and fight the 3 slimes. There isn't really any strategy to it. And as a final kick in the ass, whatever guys you actually got there just died off screen. Even if we continue to presuppose that they just go right back to the soul fountain, still sucks to have them all die so close to the finish line for no reason. We have more than enough souls, but more importantly, knowing that it's just pulling from a big resource number, you know, like, oh man, I can't believe I lost that first squad. Oh, I'm gonna try to get the second one through to the end. Just that little something just went away as soon as I noticed that number. Maybe that wouldn't be a universal thing, maybe other people would have a different experience, but that's for sure how I felt. Alright, Goblin Team 6, it's time. We're gonna take out Cyst. We know where his home base is. We crawled through the slimy butthole full of slimy buttholes. He's in the darkest part of the deepest swamp, exactly where you'd expect. So before we get to the opening cinema, I want to talk to you about Grommel's plan. So we've got Cyst here in the middle, buried down somewhere. Directly to the north of him, a Titan Hall, completely undefended. To the southwest, tactically inaccessible to each other by a big thorny bramble, is the Stonecutter and the Stormbringer clan houses, one of which has already been destroyed. Then, to the east, alone on this inaccessible cliff where literally no one can help them, is the Helfire clan, just ride or die. See, the Bridge of Souls up here is the only way to get down to where Sister is actually hiding. And right along this route is the Hall of Titans. We haven't talked about them in a while, but the Hall of Titans is where you do the black magic you use to create the Stone Ogres and the Pigapult. Now, you armchair generals out there might be looking at Grommel's plan and thinking, how does this make any sense? Why divide your army this way? That's because you aren't a goblin tactical genius. You see, over here in the southwest, on this sort of side shelf, is a whole mess of villagers who are about to go back in the Soul Fountain. Once we've run the place up and down like Charlton Heston and Soylent Green.
You can file a claim in 30 days. I'm sure you will.
We make contact with our Helfire boys, who are pretty casual about getting just murdered in the opening cinema. They roll up and they're like, hey Grommel, we mostly died. It's the hey Grommel that really brings the casualness to the way that they talk. And you'd think it'd be bad for morale, but no, they're pretty psyched about it. They basically turn it into a brag. And as a reward for their dutiful service, Grommel tasks them with destroying all of the rest of the Plaugespitters basically solo. Which again, they are psyched to do. Making it fun for them to be here makes it fun for me to be here. And it makes me feel like it would be fun to be them. And hopefully that enthusiasm holds, because they're about to have a rough day. What follows is the highest death count that any level in this game will come to by far. See this little bridge here, this little narrow bridge? It is supported by a whole gang of clan houses. Your answer? Just the Helfire clan. At least damn near as I can tell. If there is a way to get any other advantage up here and somebody knows about it, please let me know. But whatever it is not intuitive. This is a Hellfire-only adventure. You fight wave after wave after wave of Plaugespitters. You grind your way forward and they grind you right the hell back. My winning strategy was making a big gang of riflemen and just banking on their insta-kill chance going well enough times in a row that I could take the hill and get rid of one of these little houses. From there, we're able to shoot our way to the smoldering remains of the Hall of Titans. But science never sleeps, and we awaken the beast. So, Grandma... I keep calling Grommel Grammy. There's like 100 takes of me saying Grammy, Grammy, Grammy. I give up. The cosmic force of Grammy is too strong. So Grammy's master plan has come to fruition. We have captured the Bridge of Souls, created our mad science facility to unleash our technological horrors upon the world, and we went home to our grandpa and ate beef and talked about the before times, or however the hell I'm supposed to wrap up this stupid Soylent Green joke.
Oh my God. How do we come to this?
We stole all the stuff from the villages. You get it.
What did you take? Everything I could lay my hands on.
It's all come together. So, we can actually see one of the clan houses down there from up here on the cliff. Being a skilled siege commander at this point, me by proxy Grommel, bust out the old pig trebuchet and just go to town on it from up here. Just kind of curious if I can destroy it before I go down there and get a head start on this thing. And yes, it turns out I can. And Sister is so friggin' mad about it, he jumps into all chat. And we get to kind of see what he is for the first time. We saw him like from the waist up in the dungeon mission, but now we get to see the sort of reality of what he is. Some kind of nightmare swamp starfish. Why is he like this? What has possessed him to do it? Just why, in general? Is he some kind of horrifying paraplegic plant Darth Vader goblin? He's got a thorny crown on for some reason. A lot going on here. Now, none of this was a part of the story, and none of it will be a part of the story. The mystery will die with him. However, it is foreshadowed visually, which is kind of interesting. Now, if you look up and down, you couldn't because I didn't show you, but if you look up and down the Plaugespitter clan, you can see that they all have this theme of symbiosis. All of them have like things growing on them or out of them or into them. They're just about it. They're just about this life. Sister is their king, and he just does it the best out of them because he is the commander of Goblin. I think we're just left to speculate that this is why he can't turn into Moonlight, why he hasn't like been around. Not 100% sure what the benefits are, like why this is a worthwhile thing for him to do, but it does work as just kind of an interesting visual element that doesn't come into the story at all. This story is not about what he is, it's about his objectives. So if what he is not aligned with that objective or doesn't really, you know, matter to it, like he's trying to kill Grommel, like that's what we know. We are opposed ideologically, it doesn't really have anything to do with him being a symbiote plant monster, so why spend a bunch of game time on it? You can just leave it as a cool, interesting mystery. Not that you couldn't have a lot of fun explaining it too, but like this is not a complex, layered story with dense, complicated characters. We don't need to get deep into their motivations, because it's not what this is about. So in a game like this, having a bunch of backstory or way too much explanation, you just increase the odds that you're going to write something stupid that breaks the illusion that this dumb game can wonderfully satisfy. Anyway, Sister specifically calls you treacherous, which I guess we could take to mean that he does believe the rumors, but like you did for real kill two of your brothers at this point. Like I know we've been shown that Sister is a bit of a deceiver so far, but like you did kill two of your brothers. That's pretty legit. So I think this is kind of the point in the game where we drop the pretense of wondering who does or doesn't know whether Grommel did it. Two brothers are dead, and they do not seem to respawn in the Soul Fountain, so it's a real deal murder this time. I'm just saying Grommel is not the clear-cut good guy he was in the very beginning of this game, so I think by that measure, I also can't say that Sister is a cold-cut bad guy. Did I say cold cut instead of clean cut? Whatever, I'm owning it. He's a cold cut bad guy. When I go down to my local deli and order a muffaletta sandwich, I always ask him to add Swamp Goblin. That's why you gotta go to an authentic deli. You can't get Swamp Goblin in a big box store. You gotta shop local. Oh boy, how did we get here? Okay, so Boo Lame surprise. When you destroy the clan houses, Sister rebuilds them. But he's got a little bit of a delay in the time it takes him to do it, so you can still destroy one from up on the hill and then run down there and take advantage of it before he's put it back up. So here were my plans 3. Plan the first. Run down with the pig and drive by all of the buildings till they're destroyed, and then run my goblins in to destroy Sister. Plan 1 was a bad plan. There is a delay on the time it takes him to rebuild the buildings, but it's not that long a one. There is no time to get goblins in here to get damage. Okay, plan 2. Suicide the pig into Sister. Just light him on fire, do as much damage as possible per pig. We got plenty of money and souls, we got plenty of dark science back up the hill. We'll just kill him this way. Plan 2 works? It gets us to the next cutscene, that's for sure. And gets us reintroduced to special guest star, Assistant Manager Naxxus. He drops in immediately talking shit. Naxxus seems hostile, and Grommel tries some board game negotiations, but it doesn't fly. Everybody knows his deal by now. So Naxxus lightly commits some troops to the battle, I guess. He sends like 4 dudes to stop us. It's got a lot of confidence. I guess that's what we did with the Helfire clan guys a bunch of times. So yeah, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't underestimate these guys. Oh, also, I didn't mention this. Sister rains farts on you while it's happening. There's just fart rain. I think it's supposed to be acid rain, but like, come on. You sit your 90s Nickelodeon ass down and look a fellow in the eye and tell me you don't see that and think that it's fart rain. Anyway, those Nighthorde goblins, those are the Nighthorde goblins, by the way. That's Naxxus's crew. They die super cool. I don't know what their job was or what they contributed to this story in the grand sense, but to my personal narrative, my little Helfire commandos pulled it off again. Alright, plan 3. Sist won't stop yelling at us, and honestly, there was a correct plan from the beginning. I just already had a pig out. We send the Chungus Among Us to go about his dark work. Jeez, just look at the size difference between these two. He didn't even need a weapon. Oh, and when you kill him, it just BAM! Like, I get it. They need to get that screen up at the end of the mission, and they want to get you to the cinema as fast as possible so that you're not staring at those graphics in what's supposed to be a dramatic moment. But none of that lessens the impact of it. It's a type of programming problem that feels like it's from another time, and that makes it really funny and kind of comfy.
Bisara te suntu, rora kashe, tor kashe sun, tetandaka tu so, netase.
Muninatoke. Te duntena. Te sake tena. Makate untona.
Torchatan daka faratuso.
Excellent cinematic, no notes. Honestly, I really like it. This grab, this lean, I think very smart work was done putting their best efforts on all the cinemas for after you beat one of the brothers. It makes these moments really cool and memorable, and it makes them really stand out from the rest of the game. It's nice to be rewarded with a memorable experience, I think is what I mean to say. Okay, let's spend a little time trying to kind of suss out what the hell's wrong with the Plaugespitter clan. There is obviously a disconnect between the way these guys are kind of designed and the way that they're implemented in the story. I myself have a sneaking suspicion, just a tinfoil hat theory, that the assets for this game were, I don't want to say recycled, but I think they were made with something else in mind. Or maybe they were made with nothing specific in mind. They were just designed, the reason why their designs are so elemental is because somebody was just developing assets that could be used to make a hypothetical game as long as you could string a story through it. This game would be functionally unchanged by removing all of the cinemas. I love the cinemas. It would be a crime, like, against art to do that, but it sort of speaks to probably the way that this game was put together. I don't think it's very likely somebody had this game in mind. More likely they were like, what if we had like this goblin war game kind of thing? You know, I've got these like basic sketches, you know, we only make like 6, different designs for each clan, so it'd be pretty easy. You know, we'll let you control a couple of them at a time so you still have unit variety. Like, I can hear this elevator pitch and I can see somebody being like, yeah, work out some of the visuals, like get some basics together, give me an idea of like what the scope of the game is, and then you go back and do another round. You're like, oh, it would be a good console game, I think, it doesn't overcome, blah, blah, blah. That, I can see that as a very probable scenario for how this game got made, and I think that's why the assets are so much better than the story. They were probably designed in a sort of blue sky phase of this game where the designer was still just like musing out what it would look like. Now, to circle back around to the Plaugespitters. They are the most out there goblins by far, and their crazy design of them being like infested with bees or hornets or something is so visually compelling. You almost can't take your eyes off it once you start to pay attention to it. It doesn't really gel with what Sister is doing because he's like in a tree root. It doesn't actually seem like he's going through the same kind of symbiosis as them. He also, his role in the story isn't really like that. I guess you could argue he has a symbiotic relationship with Naxxus. I don't know. You can't sell me on that one. His themes have nothing to do with his place in game. It all hangs together really nicely because this game has a very strong visual identity, but it doesn't play into the plot in any meaningful way. And I think it's one of the like sort of linchpin, like I don't think this is what he was for originally. But I do like the nature guy being like the betrayer, being like this sort of salacious liar and kind of untrustworthy. You don't normally see that out of nature-themed characters. I do wonder, I'm just musing out loud here, bear with me. It took a while. I didn't realize that the little bugs were like some kind of bee or wasp. I actually thought they were flies for a very long time. They just kind of look like them. Only at very certain angles does it appear. I'm not even 100% to be honest with you, but they have this like yellowness to make them sort of stand out, and it makes them look like bees to me. But now stay with me. The levels you do in their area are all very plant related, duh. But they're not like the Nature Leaf clan or like the Strong Root clan. They're called the Plaugespitters. What we actually do is we destroy a plant that laps into soul fountains. We burn their fields and salt the earth so that nothing may grow there again. We had our big jungle adventure that eventually took us down into a big butthole root of a tree, which was full of buttholes. The word butthole is losing all meaning. And then we destroy cyst in a big tree root. It's all plant related. There's no plague about it. They themselves have an ability that reduces your armor and like does a damage over time to you, and that's plague. So mechanically that's there. But that's like, you can add that in the last hour of game development, you know what I mean? Not literally, but you know what I mean. Like, that's not integral to their character or their design. I don't think they were meant to be a poison faction at all. I think they were meant to be all about these bugs. And it makes sense that it would be bees if they are plant people, because bees pollinate things. So there's like a cool idea in there of like people who hive bees and carry them around with them. That kind of works with this sort of druidy nature and sort of spreading the plant from one to, I don't know, there's something there, right? Part of the just brain poison of trying to see these as, you know, something that was developed and then later added to the game is me trying to suss out what, you know, like what was the dream? What was, if they could have made anything out of this, what game would they have made? I don't really think that's a helpful exercise, but it was a fairly essential part of my experience playing this game, so why not share? Nexus, the final chapter, part 5, the revenge. One goblin, a gravedigger, dared to break all the rules. He rose his way up, all the way to middle manager under a prominent wizard named Fraziel. Then suddenly, that wizard died, with 2 suspects to his murder. The first, shift manager Grommel, guileless mid-management dope, or deceptive and ambitious company climber. Or perhaps it was his greasy hunchback brother who speaks parcel tongue and robs graves. Return with us to the underground, to the Undermountain, to find out. So I guess Grommel's just got enough fratricide on his hands for the time being, and he decides to lead his goblins home. We may as well, it's the next spot on the map anyway. But our brother Naxus is here before us. I'm not sure why this is strange, because I think Naxus kind of lived here with Fraziel too. Like, he was there at the beginning, yeah, like at his right hand. Didn't seem like there was anything strange about it at the time, but, you know, sure, whatever. Now, I'm guessing this was just closer, like Naxus probably knew that Grommel was coming this way, so he just got ahead of him to ambush him. Maybe he assumed that he would go home. But I love this for, like, some real last villain behavior, you know, bad guy of the final chapter, that he just jumps at you out of the fucking roadside like a bandit. Although he does leave 2 minions to fight you while he teleports away. That's a pretty Skeletor move right there. Also, real quick, I love these 2 guys way back here, just like waiting for the managers to finish talking so they know what they need to do today. Okay, fact o'clock here. So there's only 2 ways that Fraziel could have died at this point, unless Grommel did it and we're just, like, unbeknownst to us. But I'm not really going to count that as a realistic option. At this point, he either died as a result of Naxus, by virtue of being the final character in the game with a name, or by happenstance, because he's just a wizard and that shit just happens sometimes. That would genuinely be the best ending for this if we found out that he just blew himself up. Anyway, I bring all that up just to say, like, we're fighting Naxus now. Like, he showed up and he threatened us a little bit, but why are we fighting Naxus? What's Naxus's agenda? Like, we know he showed up. We know he doesn't like us because he was talking shit back in the sister fight, but we don't really know why. Obviously, Grommel didn't care that badly because he was just going home. He was surprised to see Naxus, so obviously he wasn't looking for him. I don't think we're meant to be motivated by the intrigue of why Naxos is angry with us. At least I hope we're not, because that will not be resolved. So yeah, I think we're just meant to assume that there's, like, of the people with names left, it has to be this guy because we know Grommel didn't do it. And unfortunately for Naxos, while him and sister were sipping tea, Grommel was waging a brutal war through the mountains on his way to them. I don't know how much, like, field combat experience Naxos has, but while he's been out in the garage cooking skooma, we've been out in the world waging war. The world has changed the clans, and it's time for that change to come home with us. Well, some things never change. So while we're cleaning out the shed, we bump into Naxos again, like literally 20 feet away. And he, with no real reserve, just like, yep, totally killed him, killed the master, I'm the bad guy, I wanted to take over his project, that's what I'm about, I'm Naxos. So he gives Grommel a taste of his own medicine and leaves him a pressure plate puzzle. And I know what you're thinking. Why would there be a pressure plate puzzle this deep in the game, in what is the last chapter of the game, right after a super dramatic speech about the death of our father? Will not surprise you. Just some basic pattern recognition. You probably know the solution. Before we get to that, we find, some Stonecrushers. Our very own fellows. These traitor crushers of stone just attack us out of the darkness. And right at this moment I notice, very clever of the game designers to have this mission be Plaugespitters and Stormbringers. You are very, very rarely deprived of your precious stone cutters, but it makes sense to do it on this mission so you don't get confused as some people just skip through cutscenes. Now the astute of you may ask, well, why no Helfire then? That's why no Helfire, we gotta fight them too. But it's a lot of fun. This is a strange two clans to have to fight with. It's novel, it's interesting. Almost as interesting as that surprise I mentioned earlier. It's a slithering butthole. It's a slime. I do, however, like that the Plaugespitter guy calls it an infant. What a sweet detail. Grommel just agrees immediately. I guess once you're in the crew, you're in the crew as far as goblins are concerned. And here's a very late game save the cat moment. He does not know that it's a solution to the pressure plate puzzle because we see him learn in real time that the slime can get bigger. And once we know that, Grommel the Explorer is like, we should put it on the pressure plate. So we must feed the butthole, let it grow fat and puckered. Look, I don't like this either, but it is a part of the story and we have to respect that. So we stuff the butthole to critical mass and watch its jiggle physics fly as it warbles its way slowly over to the pressure plate. It drops that dump truck and lowers the lava, thus ending the slithering butthole saga forever. Meanwhile, across the river, Grommel meets with 3 Nighthorde goblins. Their identities and purpose unknown. Actually, they're extremely suspicious. See, these guys are rebels, I guess. Grommel asks them why they would turn on Naxos. Interestingly, it kind of harkens back to that guy that sold us a bridge back in the Plaugespitter section. Interesting then and interesting now to wonder, like, they can just rebel? That's an option? Well, anyway, they say it's because Naxos doesn't need them anymore, which is a very strange reason. It's a result of Naxos using the machine to make, like, fake goblins. He has made counterfeit Stonecrushers and Helfire goblins and what have you with the Great Machine and the Moonstones. Maybe these versions are somehow superior or less willful or whatever. I can't think of a good reason why he would abandon his own clan, but here they are regardless. But then when Grommel's like, oh, the Moonstone, they're like, yeah, the Moonstone, the bastard, that's the real reason. If that Moonstone, that's, what an asshole. Abomination. Somebody has to do something about it. It's just very interesting to me that they present a motivation and then when Grommel kind of bites on something, they get after it really enthusiastically. Like, they didn't lead with that. They started with, because he doesn't need us anymore. To me, it seems very suspicious. But regardless, they do join up for real, because earlier, when you were looking at the clans we didn't have to know who could attack us, you didn't consider that we didn't have one because we were gonna get a new one, did you? At least I didn't. We just got Plaugespitter, guys. Like, it's such a cool move for the game to just drop 2 in one mission. I don't know why it's like this, but I'm into it. The rest of this is just an opportunity for us to try out our new Nighthorde guys, and they're all awesome. Just like every goblin in every clan, they're all cool as hell. And, as another little gem, we get another meanwhile. It is a Dalek? The heck is that thing? Whatever it is, it's on a moon gate. Kinda looks like a robot heart, doesn't it? Is he gonna build a giant robot? Giant robot made of moon gates? No. A giant robot that goes through a moon gate? No. A giant robot that destroys moon gates? No, that doesn't make any sense. A giant robot with a moon gate eye, and the moon gate goes to a different moon gate where a laser gets shot into it. So he's a giant robot with a moon gate laser. Yeah, that one. They definitely budgeted for that in this game. Get your hopes up, it will be that cool. Sky high, I'm not kidding. It's actually so lame that I don't even feel good. I don't even feel right doing that joke. That's how lame the actual reveal is. It's a bomb. It's a bomb. It's just a big stupid bomb. We'll get there. We have another mission before we get there. All right. All 5 clans united. Everyone's behind Grommel. We are here with one purpose, one objective. Take it away, my guy. And he nails it. He brings it home. This speech has it all. It has a villain. It has a call to action. It has stakes. It has a return to our home. It has a rejection of our enemy and our old master, all in one fell swoop. We have come back to our childhood home, and we are here to destroy it and build something new. We are no longer scattered goblins, and we are no longer laborers under the beast. We are a goblin horde now, and Grommel sets them loose. So obviously the gimmick of this mission is to destroy the machine. It's just wrecking and looting front to back. We get to use an awesome combination of clans, Nighthorde, Helfire, Plaugespitter. The enemy puts up a pretty tough fight. Somewhere along the way, I even found it in my heart to forgive the slithering butthole and learn to love him in his own way. I still think he's the lamest kaiju, but damned if he doesn't just show up to work and do his job. Maybe I'm just a stone cutter at heart, but I just respect me a giant slime that always clocks into work on time. Now, I don't want to rush through this mission, but I also kind of have to, because nothing happens in it. This is your final real mission of the game. The next one's going to be kind of a gimmick, sorry, spoiler. But this mission is your reward for the adventure so far. Remember when I said earlier, if combat in the game is really fun, then good combat is a good reward. And this whole level feels like reward. It's actually pretty challenging, which is a nice treat. By this point in the game, you've pretty much figured out the way the game's AI works, like it's not tricking you anymore. This game is very well laid out that most of the time you don't notice that the AI just spawns blankly from a clan house and then walks at you. Some of them are pre-placed in certain places, some of them are sent to attack you at certain times, but for the most part, they pretty much just march at you like ants. The trick is the levels are laid out really crazy in all of these maps, and you always have objectives running around and stuff you're supposed to be doing. But here at the end of all things, you know how it works, and the game kind of knows you know. So it just puts a stacked challenge where it's sending a lot of everything at you from every direction. The map is laid out so it's not super hectic while you just can't control every lane at once, but it is challenging enough that you're making decisions and kind of thinking about where you're putting stuff. The machine is destroyed. Everything's destroyed. The lumber camps, the forges, the libraries, the storm towers, the farms. Finally the machine. It's all gone. Grommel has destroyed the world that Fraziel built. All that's left out here is Grommel, the boys, Naxxus, and their master's final invention. Okay, cut to what feels like halfway through a conversation, and in classic Goblin Commander style, it looks like they're hanging out in like an alley behind one of the clan houses. Like these aren't the 2 most important goblins in the world right now. Also, look, Grommel came alone. What kind of setup was this? You know, whatever. He got us this far. Let's see what Naxxus has to say. He starts letting us know that this bomb is like a spirit bomb that blows crap up and turns it into souls. Combo that with the Moongate that can teleport things around. You've got yourself a doomsday weapon. And out of nowhere, Naxxus hits us with a "I will reshape the earth in my image" kind of speech. I didn't really see that coming this late in the game. Grommel, of course, is not into it. He likes the goblins the way they are, or I don't really know what horse he has in this race. Did he learn some morality along the way? Does he have some qualm about killing not goblins? Because he's fine. I mean, like, we know his boys, you know, go back in the fountain and come back. They're all cool. But, you know, they take it pretty seriously when one of the goblins die. Are we meant to think that they're like robots? Like they're just not supposed to kill? Like, that can't be true, right? I mean, I guess it technically could be, but that would be a wild thing to commit to in such a subtle way for such an important plot point. I'm hung up on this because I liked Grommel's motivation already. I think it's fine that he's just here to kill Naxxus for killing Fraziel, there we go. Like, can't Grommel just be mad that his father died and, like, his youth sort of ended in that way? It was a chain of events that led him to murder 3 of his brothers? Like, maybe they didn't get along that great, but he clearly didn't want to kill any of them. Maybe feign a little bit. But, like, Grommel's got very legit beef. He has every reason to come and fight this guy. He doesn't need some saintly motivation on top of that. Just let him come here to kill Naxxus, because Naxxus is a dick. Like a real friggin' grave robber, he pulled the ultimate modern grave rob. He murdered someone so he could inherit all his stuff. His plan was to do Fraziel's plan, but goblin. If he didn't do anything, everyone would be fine, and everyone on Earth who isn't a goblin would still have died by magic bomb. He could have had it all if he just stayed in his lane and stuck to the plan. This is a story where Grommel is the hero, thus Grommel's morals are the ones to win out at the end of the day. A slow and steady Naxxus would have never had this problem, and they'd all be doing I don't know, whatever the hell was gonna happen after Fraziel blew up the world. Whatever it is, they'd be ass deep in it right now, as their master intended. Yeah, I know, I'm still talking about this, but I'm not done yet. We see no sign that Fraziel has ever treated them poorly. This is a little bit complicated, right? Because they didn't choose to exist. That was made very clear. But they all seem pretty happy with their existence, except Naxxus. Naxxus has no clear motivation. My point is, the goblins were living pretty good. Fraziel obviously cared about them. They cared about him. Grommel was sad when he died. These guys were heartbroken. This whole thing was spun out of control by believing that Grommel had killed their master, and the others being emotionally distraught. They were sad that he was gone. Now, I know that doesn't mean that he was a good person. Obviously, he wasn't. He was going to destroy the world with soul bombs. And, you know, he made a race of slave people. My point is, from the goblins' point of view, this was a good life for them, and Naxxus fucked it up. If he had done it to prevent the bombs from going off, now we've got a moral conflict. Naxxus is just going to do it anyway. He's just going to blow up the bombs. It's just going to be him instead of someone else. Naxxus's great sin, for which he must be personified by a snake-like purple devil man with long, knotted, greasy hair covered in bones with long, spiky fingers. He's just kind of a lazy dick. Like, that's it. He's got nothing. He's got nothing going on. Why did he do this? Why does he care? Why is this better? Did Fraziel do something to him? I don't like this. He can be super evil, but his plan has to make sense. Let me touch on this last mission real quick, otherwise we'll be here forever. It is a timed mission where you have to fight all over the map to capture moon gates to defuse bombs. There's 5 moon gates, they're reasonably well defended. It's a good test of what you learned and a great challenge to end the game on. It's not quite as fun as the mission before it, which is just this big open warfare with all the sort of weird clan choices, but a ticking clock does make for a good outro, especially in a plot that is about a bomb. I mean, the plot didn't have to be about a bomb, but it is, so okay. I don't know how good Naxxus's new, clone goblins are at fighting compared to my boys who have been in and out of the Soul Fountain since this whole business began, but I'm pretty sure we can take them. Actually, you know what? What is the difference? Weren't we all made out of the machine and the soul stones too? I know the metaphysics aren't really important here, but I just never really thought about it. I guess we were made to build the machine, so we must have existed before it, but we were definitely made out of moonstones. A mystery for the ages, I guess. So we thrash our way through the map, capturing moon gates of every color. Very thematic, I approve. And somehow we defuse these bombs. I can't imagine a single goblin in my crew who I would trust to that task. I don't know, this guy? You think this guy's the guy? How about this dude? Do you think he can defuse a bomb? Probably this dude though, right? He might know how to defuse a magical soul bomb made by the progenitor of his progenitor. To this goblin, this bomb is like a god device. But honestly, there was never a reason to worry. We are an army of sweaty grandpas and leather jocks, and they are all on their way to their shed to get their hand tools. We got enough old men to fix every sink in the county. These bombs got no chance. And I guess we confirm, yeah, Grommel does care. He does not want people to die. Very odd. I know that doesn't sound odd because he's the good guy in our game, but that's what his master was gonna do. I know he didn't know that, but what did he think it was gonna do? I guess that was just manager and assistant manager information. Didn't get down to the dregs like Grommel. However, I do appreciate Grommel announcing his intent to kill Naxxus. It's just a nice, clear intention that we can't weasel our way out of later if something coincidental kills Naxxus. Regardless of how it shakes down, Grommel is here to kill him. There's a lot of elements that feel like they're just floating in the breeze right now, and I appreciate just a nice, strong, clear motivation.
Naxxus, brother, the game is ending. It's your last chance to find a good motivation before you die.
He does not. Chaos and glorious death. What does that mean? Was there ever a plan here? Is Naxxus drunk? What is his game? Well, regardless, Grommel means business, but Naxxus hits him with the pocket sand and makes a gradual break for it.
Get out of here, Naxxus, and take your Employee of the Month trophy with you!
We could only hope that Naxxus was killed in the blast. But of that, we will never be sure. As for us, reunited under our great leader Gromel, we would rebuild, we would endure, we would find purpose.
There's so much that we didn't have time to talk about, so let's just lightning round through it. I love that the Stonecrusher's clan house looks like some kind of European church. It actually has a cross carved into the wall if you look closely. All the clan houses are really distinct, but it is my favorite. The insides of all of them are also cool and kind of cozy when you look around. Here's something we didn't talk about. At its most basic level, like me, you, hey, what's Goblin Commander about? It's kind of a game where you put down a slave revolt, is sort of what's going on in it. So that's not great. I don't even know how to begin to discuss that aspect of this game. I don't think anybody who made it thought about the fact that these goblins, even if they are happy, are in fact enslaved down to the last man to this endless cycle of labor. It's one of the reasons it makes me so mad that Naxxus doesn't have a good motivation at the end of the day. He's not like, hey man, maybe it was cool being a slave, but it's also really cool not to be a slave. Like maybe if Fraziel actually loved us, he would have brought us in on what the damn plan was, because presumably we stand to benefit as well, right? Right? Unless we're all gonna die in the plan too, why wouldn't he tell us? You can come up with so many good reasons for Naxxus to have killed Fraziel and started all of this out, and they chose none of them, zero. But maybe that is actually it. Maybe that is why they chose none of them. He had to have this insane motivation, because otherwise you, Gromel, the hero, are just restoring the status quo, you know, by hook or by crook, by fist and by jackboot. And that's not like a great fun thing for a protagonist to do in a kid's game. It's interesting, don't get me wrong. And it's actually kind of how I remember this game going. It's one of the reasons I wanted to revisit it. Obviously, we've gotten way off the rails from there. I have found so much more than I bargained for. But it's like one good dialogue change away from having an actually transcendently interesting story. If at the end of all things, Gromel just had to grapple with the fact that his master was just a stone-cold killer and didn't love them, because his whole campaign has basically been one of loving vengeance. Like, he is mad that someone killed their father. Anyway, I'm gonna get lost in this again. My point is, the plot works so hard to avoid this narrative that it kind of makes an outline where I can see where it's supposed to be. We can talk a little bit about Naxxus and the Nighthorde being like kind of pop culture voodoo, which is a little uncool, right? Right? For all the reasons we just discussed. I don't want to get too video essay about it, but like, the hell, no one else is going to play Goblin Commander, so I may as well talk about it as best I can. Obviously, the Nighthorde guys are like kind of black-coded, right? Like, I'm not crazy. Like, it's here, right? Like, the designers did this on purpose. I'm not telling you to feel any way about it. I'm just saying that it's present. We can both acknowledge that. And like whatever, right? I don't mean to be like whatever, but I mean like whatever. Like this game doesn't mean anything in that way. Nobody's watching this game for any formative opinions. It's just a cool aesthetic that they chose because it was kind of in vogue at that time. Like pop voodoo was cool. It kind of is cool. Honestly, I hate to say it because I know it's just really culturally insensitive. It's kind of dicked up, but like, it's fun to have these like sort of, I don't know. I like the American cheese version of real history sometimes. I think it's fun to indulge in as long as you don't do anything like overtly messed up with it. I don't know. Is that the wrong attitude? You can tell me. I don't know. I was raised around it, so I'm just primed to enjoy it as long as it's not like overtly offensive. But then like, you take that and then as just like one of these groups of 5, there's really nothing to that. If you fought them like second or third, they would just be another cool, you know, part of this world, which I think they are supposed to be. If you read in the game manual, it talks about their homeland. We learn that they're like corpse scrappers, that they go to this place where there's this ancient battlefield where there's just tons of dead bodies and corpses and like ancient tombs and stuff. And they're just professional grave robbers. They just steal magical crap and bring it home. But in game, they function sort of as like the soul mechanic guys. So if you look at them, if you kind of take a step back at the 5 brothers, them being the guys that manage the soul side of things, it actually makes a lot of sense for the sort of dynamic that they need to make this machine work, which would also explain why he knows that about the soul bombs. Like, that's his role in the finished game. But if you look at his base description, that could fit anywhere. That means he was sort of chosen to be the bad guy of this game. He was sort of picked to be the villain. If you just had these puzzle pieces laying on the floor, any of these guys would have made a cool villain for this story. Playing as any one of them against any of the others would be interesting. Super weird, right? Very modular, almost like you can do anything you want with these assets. But then on top of that, the villainous task that he was chosen to do as the black-coated character is to kill their master who created them as labor slaves. Now, this game fully sells the narrative that Fraziel was good to them and that they enjoyed, working with him a lot.
It was a good life, working for that which we were created.
Like, clearly there was a loving relationship here. Obviously, it's more complicated than that. There's just not enough time in the world to talk about why it's more complicated than that. And then not to mention just the weird layer of like your main character being someone who's just like absolutely adores his master. He's just a lapdog to the bone. This would actually be a super fun character to explore. I would love it if Grommel started this game as a lapdog and had to kind of learn this lesson over the course of the game. That would be great. I mean, Grommel has an amazing arc, learning to be a good manager, but still. So Naxxus serves as your liberator, and you play as a Randall, and you hunt him down and kill him, but only before finding out that he's crazy. And he is just always like this. We don't know why. We don't know what made him this way. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he just snapped. Maybe he's just the bad guy because he was born under the evil moon. So the takeaway is that, like, yeah, man, why didn't you just let us be slaves? Fuck off with your liberation. Go be a slave and be happy about it. We were gonna build a bomb and destroy the world before you came along and ruined it, Naxxus. And Naxxus is like, I'm gonna kill everyone for no reason. It just is not a good look, man. It's weird. Also, like, nobody else, it's not like you have an Egyptian-themed group and like a Viking-themed group and like a South American-themed. Just one of them has dreadlocks and like bones in their hair. Okay, the spear throwing guy in Plaugespitters is called a savage, so he's a spear throwing savage. So it's not. I think that's an accident. Anyway, this is all just kind of floating under the surface. You don't really notice it when you're playing because, to be perfectly frank, the Nighthorde guys are awesome. They're so cool. I love them all. This guy's got way too big of a head. I drew it different. I don't care. I don't care at all. I tried to draw these as close to model as possible. That giant head has bothered me since I was a kid. I was just, why did they make this game wrong? That was a mistake. Anyway, their designs are really cool and fun. I love that their stuff is bright, glowing purple. You just don't get enough of that in video games. I adore that just Ex Nihilo, the game designers, decided to just let you play as the Nighthorde guys early. You just get them, here you go, just have them. Like 2 missions from the end isn't like a long time, but they didn't make you wait until like the last mission. You get to actually enjoy them a little before the game is over. Oh, also, just to wrap it up, I did lie in the beginning when I was like, there's no swords in this game. The little grave robber has a sword. He has the one sword. Don't talk to me about the butcher guy. He's got a knife and a cleaver. Those are tools. It's different. Okay, consider that addressed. We can wrap that up in a bow. I didn't get to talk about the longer creation myth that's in the game manual. It gives you a much more fantasy introduction to all of the characters. It's really cool. Check it out. In particular, look at the funny moon names. We know Phrox, of course, because Grommel says it all the time. Grommel's moon was Hellenix, which is pretty cool. So they're kind of the Helfire clan. Thane is Trist. I knew that one off the top of my head for whatever reason. The moon of Trist. My favorite in the bunch, Faust, is where Sister is from. He is made from the green moon of Faust, which is just an awesome, awesome word. And then finally, Naxxus was born under Farthus, which just kind of sounds like your friendly neighbor. Anyway, I love all of those names. Oh, here's something else we never talked about, the fast forwarding. This game has a really weird system of doing in-game cutscenes. Whenever an in-game cutscene is happening, you can press a button and it'll fast forward you slightly. It's actually really perfect because it means you get to kind of enjoy the voice acting and the directing a little bit, but you don't feel like you're like, oh, it's so slow, tap, 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 like you're trying to get a conversation over like you do in a lot of video games. People work so hard on voice acting, but they do it really, really slowly, so a lot of it ends up getting skipped. Part of that is you just start doing it automatically. You just start like buffering the cinemas and speeding them up slightly between lines of dialogue. So when you're seeing that all over the place, it's because I literally cannot help myself even when I'm recording it to do this. It's so instinctual to just put those little fast forwards in here and there. And it's a really authentic part of the Goblin Commander experience, so may as well just leave it in and let you enjoy it. Now I just need an outro, I just need an outro. An outro is how a story ends. I have to wrap up the elements, bring all the themes home, call back to jokes I forgot. Now you don't have to leave yet, I do have more to say. Please like, comment, and subscribe. So what have we learned from Goblin Commander? The plot. I like the plot in this game. Not because it's a great plot, but it hits all the walls. I very often find myself talking to people about video game plots or character plots, and I'm just saying like, all I want is 3 walls and an arc, that's it. I want a story to have a couple of elements all its own, and I want it to start somewhere and end somewhere. People will argue with me if I start dropping examples, but there are a lot of games that just cannot manage this. Our opening cinema, we learn who all of the main characters are and their purpose in the story. We don't learn jack shit anything about the land of Ogress because it doesn't matter. This isn't a story about the land of Ogress or the people that live there. This game is about 5 brothers squabbling about who killed their father. So we don't waste time with anything that isn't about that. This game's not very wordy, which is excellent. Most of the dialogue is right to the point. And it's often okay, it's fine. Some of the events that are happening around the dialogue is usually extremely silly and the source of a lot of the comedy in this game, but there's nothing wrong with the writing. All the characters are written earnestly and are engaged in the plot, like they are taking it seriously, which gives me a reason to. Not a single character is like too cool to be here, and we're not wasting any time with plot twists that don't inform our motivation in any meaningful way. Grommel was a happy lad living his life who was forced to kill his brothers. That's an interesting story. You don't need a bunch of stuff on top of that. That's kind of why I got so caught up on the bomb thing at the end. It really does bother me that this heroic motivation is dropped at the last minute. But other than that one thing at the end, the game plays very true to its roots. Grommel is sad that he has to kill his brothers, and he shows it a bunch. We see this experience change him. We see his point of view move. I guess you could argue that that is the thing with the bomb, that like now he's learned to value life. I don't think that's true. I think he values his brothers. He doesn't hesitate to kill anything else or destroy anything else in this entire game. Anyway, he goes on a journey from his home, he faces adversity, he grows and changes, and the home he returns to is not the one that he left, because he doesn't fit there anymore. Naxxus does. Naxxus is still doing the stupid plan that their stupid dad wanted to do. It doesn't really matter what that plan was. The point is, it was a big dumb exercise in vanity. And that's what Grommel's arc would have been if I got to write this game just right at the end. I would change that he wouldn't really learn what the machine does because that's not really what the story's about. Naxxus would be using it to get whatever unlimited power Fraziel was promised building the machine. And Grommel, who would like speak for the people now, having gone around and confronted and killed his own brothers. He would have very different ideas about power and who should have it, and it's definitely not someone like Naxxus. Maybe the type of person who's gonna hide away in a mountain and invent a slave race to help him build a tyrannical machine of destruction that gives him power over the whole world is the type of person who shouldn't be in charge of their own shoelaces, which gets at the heart of why a machine like this shouldn't exist. This is a game about slow and steady people who do things the patient way and the right way. This is a machine that catapults you instantly to unfathomable power. It's a classic opposed ideology. Naxxus was probably the most worldly of us in the beginning of this venture, but he never faced change, so he never grew, and that's probably why we were able to absolutely crush his ass on the battlefield. But way more importantly, it's representative of him seeking the easiest way. Naxxus wanted to kill Fraziel and take all his stuff. He did, but motivating that was the most important piece of his father, his lazy ambition. The man was a wizard powerful enough to create life. Whatever change he wanted to put out into the world, he could have done the hard way. He could have gone out there and gotten it done one brick at a time, laid good foundations for future people to follow, who can learn and adapt from things he did right and wrong. Even if his ambitions were insanely sinister, this would still get you the most effective result. But no, like a lazy idiot, he assumed he knew best. He decided that there was something wrong with the world and that he was the only person in the world who could fix it. And he tried to fix it by giving himself unlimited superpowers so he could live forever and do it, like every wizard does. The obvious downside to this measure once cut twice situation is we have absolutely no idea what type of world he's gonna build, and based on what we know of him so far, he built a really crappy one. What are the odds Fraziel was the guy? And a double down, what are the odds that Naxxus is the guy? And Naxxus even knows that. He's not even in this out of ideology. He's just a big pouting loser whose stupid view of the world doesn't make any sense, and he can't challenge himself on that, so he's just gotta try to blow up everything. Act like it was his plan all along or whatever dumb crap he's gotta sell himself, because it's just easier for him to wipe out his last living brother and the planet than admit that he was an asshole. Even if he did have a coherent ideology, he would have no way to know if it's a good one because he would have lived in this cave, his beliefs and ideas entirely untested. The shadows on the wall are still real to him. And that's my whole point. This game doesn't have a super complicated plot, but it works. It's a functional plot. It's a good one. Made better by the fact that it doesn't double or triple down on it with a crap ton of unnecessary dialogue. I give the story 3 out of 5 dead brothers. Okay, what's the next thing we learned? The visuals. I have never seen a game that looks like this. The sexy grandpa aesthetic is extremely unique, all more for the fact that the game is not comedic and doesn't pay any attention to it at all. It absolutely works in this dead serious game because it is presented as a normal part of the setting that no one draws any attention to. It's just day-to-day life. Just strap up those chaps and bring that wrinkly ass to work. The areas of the game are very distinct and an almost Nintendo 64 level of like aggressive color changing, but it does make each part of the game kind of memorable in its own way. You definitely remember like, oh, the blue part, oh, the part where I was in the woods. Oh yeah, that's right, the swamp. A little variety goes a long way, and a lot of color correction can really dig you out of a visual hole. Visual design, 10 out of 10 soapy grandpas. I recommend this game, and I recommend this video many, many, many times again. Okay, now don't tune out because I've got some closing thoughts. Or you can jump to the closing thoughts, but this part's interesting too. So I've been hosting the assets for all of the videos that I've been making so far, going back to the TF3 video. They are all up freely, publicly accessible on my Patreon, which is the weirdest sentence I have ever said. I have been slowly constructing a Patreon to announce later. It's not really open yet, but it turns out it's an extremely handy way to host the types of files I use for this type of content. It's hard to describe exactly, but it is really nicely organized for me to keep these projects grouped up. So I'll be posting high-res versions of everything that I did in this video up over there that you can go and get if you have your own Goblin Commander project you want to do. If you're making something related to this game, you have my full permission to use any of the assets that I put up there, go ham on it. If somebody out there is working on a Goblin Commander wiki, I don't know. I don't know what use you might have for it, but if you have one, help yourself is my point. And the same thing goes for my previous videos. I've been posting them all a little at a time. I might not actually be caught up with Goblin Commander by the time this one comes out, but it'll be up there soon. I'm trying to get it up to date as quick as I can. Like I said, the Patreon is not open yet, so don't feel the need to interact with it in that way. But if you are somebody who enjoyed this video and wants to give me money, I will have a donation link below. It feels, again, really weird. I've never been in this position before, but I'll level with you. This video took many months to make. I said 3 months at a certain point in this video because that's how deep into it was when I recorded that section. It's just such an irresponsible amount of work that I have done here. I've been really enjoying making YouTube videos. There is an immense satisfaction to putting them together, but it's becoming like a bad habit. And I just have a very limited amount of time to grind out currency to pay my bills. I did this project on a computer whose I have to plug and replug my monitor in and out, usually about half a dozen times to get the monitor to turn on because my graphics card is an inch from death. I drew this on a tablet that has like one of the 10 commandments on the back. It's an Intuos 4 with about 100,000 miles on it. I need to fix my car. There's just 1,000 things I need to do that aren't making YouTube videos. But I really don't want to stop. I want to make more of them. So if you want that to happen, you can donate. I'll have a Ko-fi link below. That is the easiest way. If this video gets a good response, then in my next video, I'll announce the Patreon officially and kind of open it up for big boy business. If perhaps to tantalize you, let me show you, huh? Yeah, look at that. You like some of that sizzle reel? I have a lot of projects I want to do. There's so many. To be perfectly honest, I have no idea how to move this message across. This is as weird for me to say as it is for you to hear. And it's recorded with the like horrifying existential knowledge that it'll be twice as embarrassing if this video bombs too. The future's a nightmare. Okay, things I would add to this game. Number 1, all of the unique support units, like all 5 clans have one, they should have an instrument. Stay with me. I know I'm hugely biased because I love the drummer, but you can actually hear his drum beat pounding when you're in fights, and it's extremely cool. It adds something to the ambiance of this game. If all of the support units played a different instrument, they could all be playing the same song. You can have one song that is like a unifying game theme and have each of them playing a different instrument for it. So when you're in combat, your army will sound different than the other army, but when you're fighting each other, it'll make a complete combat song on top of the sounds of combat and explosions and like terrain getting blown up. It'd be amazing. Okay, another thing, more campaigns. I want to be able to play as all the clans and see what it would be like if they won the war. We're just using gobbledygook goblin language, so it's not like we have to record a crap ton more voice acting. You just need your writer to write out, you know, the dialogue between scenes. You're probably going to reuse some maps, that's just life, but you just try to make enough of them that you have a wide enough variety that it doesn't feel like you're playing the same maps 10 or 20 times. Easy investment, big improvement. Better AI. This game needs better AI very badly. It would be really cool if it was developed enough to have like a skirmish mode so you can just play around, because right now, if you want to do multiplayer, you got to play against a person, and who you gonna get to play Goblin Commander with? If anybody's out there playing Goblin Commander, like I said, hit me with that. Hit me with the facts. I want to know. But regardless of that, like when you're actually playing the game, the AI just sends waves of dudes at you, and the game is so objective based. Like I said, it doesn't really matter, but it would be nice if they played around you and you had to strategize a little bit more. Like the tools are all there. The game just doesn't know how to take advantage of it. 3, make the unit abilities more clear. Like when you pick units, when you're gonna buy them, just have all their stuff laid out. Every unit in this game has a special ability. I never knew that until I was doing the research for this game because I busted out the manual for the first time. It is just not clear what every unit does, and it'd be nice if the game made that just a little bit more clear. The game's easy enough that it doesn't really matter that much, but like, why not? And change the kaijus. Make them do something. Make them do stuff when you don't control them. It doesn't have to be much. Just let them stomp around and do basic damage to people in a circle around them or something. Just don't make them go completely dormant. Obviously, I would change Naxxus's story. I would have him right at the end just reveal the bomb situation and be like, did you know our master was a psychopath? And that would be the twist at the end. We don't need him trying to blow up the planet. The final battle should be you versus Naxxus, but not for vengeance for your master or anything like that. You should be fighting for something ideological, because we know throughout the game, we know what the world looks like according to Grommel. We know what he would be like as a king. Efficient and boring. I don't know how long these goblins live, but like legitimately, he is the most qualified out of all of them. He is the guy that will probably build the best society for these goblins post-wizard enslavement. So you can just have Naxxus represent a different ideology for the goblins. Maybe he wants them to be killers. Maybe he is trying to forge them into your traditional goblin violent killers who live in the mountains. That's the future he sees for his people because they kind of can't die. I don't know. You can come up with something, but like make it an ideological difference. I don't know. It would be hard to do worse than this. Of course, if I get my whole way and you get to make a campaign for each commander, then each of them would have sort of a desired outcome for the world, and then through what they want, we could see the flaws in what other people want, right? So if you play as like Thane, he's after scholarly pursuits. He wants to understand like the magic of this land, and that's like a noble goal. When you play as him, that's what you're doing, and you're seeing him try to like improve stuff and like embetter the world. But when you play as like Grommel, you might be like, hey, that's the magic that made a race of slave goblins. Like maybe we shouldn't rise to that level of hubris. Like you can have your characters, you don't have to use any of those words. Like you can tell that plot in a really simple way and you could still attack a lot of ideas with it. And it wouldn't take a lot of extra writing. It would just be a slam dunk all around. And that'd be basically it. Other than that, I love this game. Keep your Steam wish lists open for my remake of Goblin Commander coming never. My channel is very small, so interactions are super duper important, so please do. In particular, I'm interested if anybody played this game when they were a kid and the multiplayer. Anybody have any good multiplayer memories of this game? Like, I'm not just farming for comments, like I actually want to know if anybody got the experience and if it was a good one. Also, I don't have any specific comments to highlight from the last video, but I do want to talk about a type of comment that I've got a bunch of that I'd like to address. People saying that they appreciated watching this and it made them want to go work on their own creative projects. I've gotten a number of these, it's the best. It's my actual favorite thing to see. I'm still at the point where all comments are very new to me, so I didn't really expect this to sneak up on me. Like, it's humbling to see people who are inspired by my work, let me put it that way. I never really thought about myself as that type of artist, that people would see my work and really take anything from it in that way, so I really appreciate it. Do go work on your own creative projects. Make your stuff get done. It's not easy. It's never easy. The time is never there. Trying to get the energy together after a long day when life is busy and stressful is really hard. Trying to finish something that you just have no hope will ever be fully done is draining. And the feeling that you're never going to make any money from your craft and thus it feels like some kind of pointless endeavor is a horrible leech in the back of your psyche. I have no prescription for these demons. I just hope giving them each names will help you ward them off. My personal method is to just learn to love the struggle. When you actually get something fully done, it's like the quickening, like you just feel yourself getting better. If you set a project of the proper challenge and then conquer it, the feeling of self-satisfaction, the knowledge that you set a goal and made it, it doesn't have anything to do with the quality of the work. It's about believing that you can create something in your mind and then make it real. You have now fully done it once. You can, in fact, do it again. That is a great comfort. And it gets easier and easier to do every time, but as long as you're doing it for you, as long as you're making a project that you would enjoy, then that feeling of accomplishment will always be there at the end. That's not good advice for making money as an artist, but I'm not good at that, so I don't know how to tell you how to do it. Anyway, I've been Val the Robot. Let's get out of here before you die of old age. Which, of course, I won't. Beep.